And so, it's kind of like, in my mind, you've got a purchase order, which is one of the simplest of the three, agreements, a little less formal, but still contain items like we did today and talking about the requirements in the proposal. And then a contract being something much more heavy-handed, much more specifics, like the boat launch project, something of significant, really. So it's just how I kind of discern the three. They're subtle.
I did the
They're
same
subtle,
thing as
but
you though with the dictionary.
so,
it's interesting. Here you
again,
did
I
that
don't know
too.
so how to respond is,
May I make a suggestion that we wordsmith this and bring it back? She wants something in writing. I guess.
Yeah, but I think she wants
We'll
to.
just wait for Clerk Gauze to come back.
I mean, she gave us target dates at 8/22. Can we meet the target date? If we do that? Do people know that she can be heard? I'm going to the bathroom.
Just let it go. It's not your business. Don't need my permission to have a good day.
Thank you. Continue.
So we were still trying to figure out Rachel's question number one. And I asked the board maybe that we probably wordsmith something for her in writing. Maybe incorporate Don's Webster definition. Bring it back for board approval, and then we want to wordsmith it here during the meeting. I would like to.
I don't think this needs to be so complicated as what it's being made out to be. Rachel just wants something in writing, and I think sending her the purchase order policy takes care of that part of it. And the only other thing she's asking about is clarification, distinguishing agreement and contract. Service will be taken care of in the purchase order policy. And I don't think is she online? Is she on Zoom?
Yes.
Okay, well,
Well,
it's probably been explained well enough then.
I think that her request in paragraph 1 is valid, and I think we owe her a definition difference between purchase order agreement and contract.
And I think
And
that,
so
yep.
I make a motion that we wordsmith that.
Motion by Pop
offline.
to wordsmith. The wordsmith what?
The process. I mean, you you're wordsmithing what, a process? Is that what you're gonna?
Thank you, Teresa.
Well, she's asking for a written clarification distinguishing purchase order, agreement and contract. Because obviously there is some confusion. And this will be the third time we've dealt with it, so I just say, put it in writing. And so, yes, we'll,
And
You
I
will
don't think it
define-
needs to come back to the board. I'd say you just send her something in writing,
okay, that's
explaining the
fine.
difference.
We-
I don't know why it would need to come back to the board.
So I will send a combination of what I wrote and what Don wrote.
Supply you with my notes.
I'm fine with that.
That's good.
What's the is there a motion?
Nope.
Nope, okay.
So what about question number 2? I think we've already covered that in a previous statement. But just for clarity.
Depends how detailed your minutes of the meeting, if you're gonna give her clarity or not. Do you want to put another paragraph?
And I totally agree with that statement, Heidi, right? To have the expectation that another board member would either log on or read our minutes to discern an answer to his or her question seems a bit outdated to me. I think we can easily provide a response. And I think the response is that we're still looking for an estimate. And my comment here, unless somebody else has something first. Carol, do you have anything first? On question number 2.
On question number 2, the only thing, I'm fine with them, having an more accurate forecasted cost necessary for completion of the master plan at our October meeting. I'm fine with that. And if you want to just add that to your other written clarification that you're providing, she wants it in writing. I'm personally fine with that.
Yeah, I think we can just put that as a separate section 2 in the response. And
Heidi?
again, I'd be happy to work with you on that.
Yeah.
I'm good, as long as she gets her answers.
I agree. Budgeting is an estimate, right?
Yeah.
And so it's a guess. We try to get as accurate as we can, but we're not always gonna hit that mark, but having
Sometimes,
something,
yeah, sometimes you hit it, sometimes you don't.
having something is better than nothing. Yeah, so, okay,
And I think that's all the PC's really asking, so that we stay within those guidelines. Once we do get there.
on our third question,
It's just informational, I think.
yeah, I had no response to that one. On number 4, was asking about reappointments or filling a vacant spot. Did Rod actually provide a letter of resignation, Cheryl?
Not to me.
So,
You informed me of it.
I just have a verbal. And so I still see,
I was still trying to see that because I have like 2 different copies, so I figured he had to resign with you, not me.
well, I may have missed an email. I don't think so. And so my point is, I still see comments coming to him as of July 30th. So I'm thinking he's still, I don't know.
I think he's trying to tie up all his loose ends.
Okay. So,
He told our team that he was gonna tie up his loose ends. So maybe that's what he's doing. I'll have to look through a bunch of
so
emails.
I'll get with Rod,
I think that has to be between you and him.
well, the board approved him. And so generally an equal and opposite reaction is required.
Well, there should be something for the personnel
Yeah,
file.
Yeah.
If
absolutely.
he's resigning, because we need to know when to terminate him in payroll.
Yep.
As of what date and this type of thing. So, we do need something in writing.
Yep, I think that's good business. Heidi, do you think we've covered all of the questions in your opinion?
Yep. I
Okay.
was now searching for that letter, but I don't see you on the email chain.
So then we will go back to our regularly scheduled programming.
No, we have the master plan chapters 1 through 4. Was moved to, before or right after public comment.
So I just asked that question, whether or not,
No, you said on this letter from Rachel.
okay. So
Sorry if
wanna
I
deal
took
with
it out
master
of
plan number
context.
4? I'm good with that.
Go for it.
Okay, so we are actually working on new business number 4. Which starts on packet page 261. Does anybody have comments?
My comment is that I will supply, my comments on those 4 chapters to the planning commission by the date requested.
I will add to conversation that reading through chapters 1 through 4, I think it was it's well written, it's well represented, and I think that it reads easy, especially with some of the bulleted points, and certainly photos help. And I don't want this to sound, this is gonna come out, this is not gonna come out right, but I'll say it anyway, okay? I really care about chapters 5, 6, 7, and 8. The history is important. It's always, but it's really well written. I'm not gonna go back and dig archaeologically whether a fact in there is right or wrong. There's people that are way more qualified to do that. Other than finding out when Williamsburg United Methodist Church first started, since that date seems to be open. I would say that those facts are the facts, and they're important as a base foundation. There's nothing in there that I see that would be agreed with or be right or spend time on. Spending time on the next table of contents, which are community engagement, goals and vision, planning strategies and implementation, that's where I think that the comments flow. I'm going to give nothing but accolades. It's history. It's packaged up a different way. It has a different ribbon. It's good stuff, but I'm not gonna take time to tear that apart. I'm gonna spend time and energy on 5, 6, 7, and 8 when it comes my way.
As far as that date goes on the church, you think we can just take the date that's on the building?
Have you checked with Luann?
I have a call into her.
So no.
And let me stand again unequivocally. The past is important. It should be part of this master plan. Never suggested otherwise. I'm not gonna rewrite history. It's good stuff. It's presentable. It's really easy to read. And, I like the way it's segmented. So let's move on and get 5, 6, 7, and 8 done.
Cheryl, do you have comments?
No, she said
Oh, that's-
we
Right.
respond
I'm
by
gonna provide mine,
9/26 to the
So-
PC.
I don't even know if I'm gonna have any, but I'll provide them by that date.
There's a couple of typos that I picked up or spelling errors, I should say. And then, packet 290. Some of the statistical charts that you put up indicate the source is from an estimate. Because the source is from like 2021, are they still estimates at this point? Or are they factual numbers? And so, I understand if we were trying to forecast what growth might be or what, median household income is, we would estimate. But it seems to me like, if it's a 2021 number, we already have a way to find that out, but maybe not, maybe not. I know sometimes digging those statistics out is a rabbit hole. And then let's see, other comment was 90% ownership, owner occupied housing in Whitewater Township. That's why STRs, we're gonna have issues with short-term rentals.
What
is
page
be-
are you on, Ron?
Well, that particular statistic comes from packet page 290. And that's not a critique of your work. That's helping the board understand that, there's 90% owner occupied properties here in the township. And then I only found one misspelling, but don't look to me for spelling or grammatical errors.
So 90% owner occupied, then we have the ones that are rented out and are not occupied by the owner, whether that, and I'm talking about long-term rental. Is that what the statistic is? That, owner occupied doesn't include places that are for rent for several years or whatever.
I would think that's what that number means. Yep.
Okay.
But I like it so far. Good work. Keep it up. What can we do to help?
Keep reading it and giving us your opinions. Of that. Everybody get involved. Tell your neighbor, call a friend.
There really was no action item here, so I think we're concluded with business item number 4. Do you concur, Heidi?
I do.
Okay. Now can we return to our regularly scheduled programming?
Awesome.
which I think we'll start with reports and presentations. Chief Flynn, good morning.
Morning. Chief Brandon Flynn, Whitewater Township Fire Department. So it was an uneventful month. We did roll in 9 calls though, which
That's
pretty
not
decent.
eventful.
Well, all of my other busy work was uneventful, you know, that countywide, they cancel most of the meetings, you know, because of Cherry Fest and there's just a lot going on in town, so a lot of my other meetings were canceled, which left me to the office to catch up on some busy work. But Supervisor Pop and I, and also Don Glenn, trustee Don Glenn, we went to the 2% grant media event, which was kind of fun, and of course, the park got a grant for an AED and the fire department got a grant for new structural firefighting helmets, which was coming up this year. As a matter of fact, most of our helmets expire this year. So that was pretty good. And also Supervisor Pop and I did finish up the Department of Treasury PPE grant. We submitted all the, hopefully all of the documents that they need, which included bank statements and invoices and canceled checks. So we're just waiting on that. Supposedly after August 10th, they're gonna start notifying agencies that have grant money coming. And I did on Sunday, as a matter of fact, speaking of the brush truck, Supervisor Pop asked me before the meeting if our current brush truck is okay. That's a tough question. It's a 1986, you know, Chevy military surplus vehicle, but our new brush truck, I had been notified on Sunday, has been entered into the production queue, and we have an estimated delivery date of October 18th. Of course, it's assembled in Mexico, so after production, it does take probably a couple months for it to make it up here by rail. Well, there's lots of other things that could go wrong on the way. So that's about it, unless you have any other questions, comments, or concerns.
I know you have the agenda item coming up about the fire helmets, but who, position wise, not name wise, will be wearing the red helmets?
That is a captain and we don't have a lieutenant's position. So because we have as many firefighters as we do helmets right now.
Yeah.
I've had to issue the other red helmet to Dave Tilley.
Mhm.
So, and I'm not sure if I'm gonna give it to the new training officer or just have Dave keep it.
I was just curious. Thank you.
Yeah. He's kind of acts as a lieutenant when no other officers are there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Heidi?
So our planning commission went really well. We accomplished a lot. We need a new member. What's really funny is we went around the table and made sure we fulfilled all our requirements as to experience. And I think the only thing we were missing was the resident at large. Just a little tidbit. Other than that, I came up with a new plan for communicating to and getting feedback from the members of the plan commission and the board. And here's how I'm gonna put it at the plan commission level. I asked each member individually, no names will be given at this time, or I will never name names. But I asked each one if they read the board packet. Not liking my results, I went to work and literally took 6 months worth of board packets, looked at all board packets and PC packets, looked at all of them and thought, Why is nobody reading this? Okay, it's the length of our board packet. Okay, so then I went, do I try to get that cut down or do I just pull out what they really need to know? So that's what I did. I went through our board packet and pulled out everything that the plan commission might need to know or look at. They seem to be okay with that because it was only, I think, 20 pages. We also displayed it on Zoom. I don't know if that's what happened with the feedback on our Zoom meeting, but there was feedback and I don't know if it's because Rachel was sharing stuff. I don't know enough about Zoom. But when I brought the stuff to the table, we were able to share it with the people on Zoom as well as the people at the table and in the audience. This is a work in progress. I can't give you any results yet because until I have another PC meeting, I won't see if it worked or not. And then you guys will be my next guinea pig. So I will try to pull out stuff out of our PC report and get it to you with some highlights. And thank you for taking care of our contract today because that was the biggest concern for us is we didn't like the unknown and failure that was being created. And now we feel a lot more comfortable to move forward. Thank you.
Don, anything to add to Park and Recs?
Other than just, I mean, what's written there, they did do a good job. They had several examples and cobbled together a RFP for preliminary engineering design service needs in order to formulate that project on the Lossy Trail Wetland Bridge improvement. That way, developing the standard or the architectural drawings will allow them to go out for bids. I think the project has some complexities. It was crafted broadly and then it was refined after the meeting. And I believe that I saw that go out early last week. They do have a due date for proposals by next week, Monday. So look for, obviously there'll be further information coming forward in the next board meetings. And I did make a mistake at the bottom. The next meeting was August 15th, not July 15th. So, that, mea culpa on that, but, they're moving along. I would opinion that they're taking good steps to work towards a good finished product. So keep you posted.
Seeking a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar for discussion purposes only.
I'll second. Just out of curiosity, Heidi, do you have points on item number 6?
I was finishing when I was writing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Now I gotta figure out where the heck I put that.
It was one of the documents that you shared during the PC meeting. That's why I figured.
I think I just covered that.
Okay.
As I'm in the process of redoing everything, so I think I just covered that.
So do you have other items in the consent calendar?
There was one, but I think I'm okay with it now. I just saw my notes.
Anyone else have questions in the consent calendar? I do on the zoning administrator's report.
What page is that?
It is 17. second paragraph, where he puts in bold, continuing action on this matter is being paused. And I think he's
Second
specific.
paragraph about High Point Golf Course.
I'm sorry, I was looking at his lined paragraphs. So I guess it would be topic number 2. I don't know.
A summary of concerns.
Yeah.
Okay, what's your question again, or
Well,
statement?
um,
Continuing action?
yeah. Why are we pausing action on an item that we don't allow short-term rentals in the township? Why are we not, we're telling people who call, but obviously people who complain.
Have no
that-
idea.
That they have a rental, short-term rental next to them. Why are we not sending those property owners a notice? Why are we pausing on this?
Are we,
Well, I don't know. I had, someone in here recently who wanted to make a complaint about a short-term rental. And I passed that on to Bob and asked him to send a letter to the property owner, and he did.
Says he paused. It's in pause.
well,
He
he,
said-
he paused as of 11/17/2022.
Well, last month he wrote something very similar that he had paused. And so I understand that Bob's busy or might be shorthanded or whatever, but to say that we've paused
It looks like-
because other matters have a higher priority, I beg to differ. And did the board tell Bob to pause?
I wasn't part of any of the
I
conversation.
didn't, I have go see Bob on Thursday and I have like 10 questions because
So,
Well, I do know Bob has been very busy, and has spent, a lot of time and has needed attorney assistance with getting the ZBA packet ready, for the August 24th ZBA meeting. So,
and then.
one person can only do so much 8 hours a
in
week.
one day a week.
And I've asked for more, but he doesn't, more time, but apparently he doesn't have it, so. And then same general area. Bob writes that the short-term dwelling is not a new and is not unique to Whitewater Township. By now, the board has hopefully realized the lack of administration and regulation of this activity is spreading quickly throughout Whitewater Township. I take personal offense to that.
I kind of did too. Because at
The
first I'd like
only
them,
Excuse me,
sorry.
the only lack of anything is on Mr. Hall's part. And if he has chosen not to do something, it is because he has chosen not to do it, not because of the board directed him. We have an ordinance which we have been told is the law of the township. If Bob doesn't want to enforce it, there's the door. End of story. And so if there's a problem enforcing it, bring it to the board. Now, we've had several zoning administrators hide behind the civil infraction thing, which is later on our agenda. But we do have a policy in place that can enforce our zoning ordinance. Get it done. Or there's no reason to spend $50,000 on a master plan if we're not going to enforce the zoning ordinance.
I get it.
It's,
Well, we don't have a specific short-term rental ordinance.
you don't
So,
need one. They're not allowed.
Can I just,
excuse me, Heidi, I think I started speaking and then you jumped in and then you jumped in and I wasn't even done speaking yet. So, the township doesn't have a specific short-term rental ordinance, as many townships do who are serious about enforcing short-term rental. I get it that our ordinance does not allow short-term rentals less than 30 days, but that's not common knowledge out in the township. Maybe that needs to be, maybe the residents need to be educated a little bit more. It's happening a lot, and you know, and most of the people, I believe, who are doing it, their neighbors don't really have a problem with it. But there's the few bad apples that spoil it for the whole bunch and are properly managing their property and are allowing noise violations and, you know, other things to occur. That is bringing it to the attention of their neighbors. And so you apparently then want these, the complaints, you want the code enforcement policy, which is up for amendment here, to be changed so that they get the first notice and then they get this, well, which is in there right now, the first notice, the second notice, and then they be charged with a misdemeanor. So that's expensive, requires attorney involvement, and is difficult to efficiently prosecute. So it looks like we have this code enforcement amendment that will, at some point, if we adopt a municipal civil infraction ordinance, allow for an easier way to prosecute people who are violating what our current zoning ordinance says. So I think the township's got some work to do for there to be efficient prosecution of, you know, we had this municipal infraction thing 5 years ago. And I voted for it, Della voted for it, you voted against it, and Lloyd voted against it. Paul wasn't here. And so we had our chance to get the municipal civil infraction ordinance in here. We had some residents here who opposed it. We certainly didn't have a large majority of the township in here opposing the municipal civil infraction ordinance. So here we are, 5 years later, we don't have a municipal civil infraction ordinance. And so we have to charge people with misdemeanors. And that's not real palatable to me, to be out charging people with misdemeanors because they rented their house out for a couple weeks. I just don't think that sounds like the heavy hand of government that I don't want to see here in Whitewater Township.
Heidi, you've been trying to say something.
Yep, because we could have eliminated this whole conversation. Okay, first of all, Michigan state law allows you to rent out your house 2 weeks a year without even telling them or doing anything about it. Second of all, I think our biggest issue with the short-term rentals, and here's my observation. I've hit the street, knocked on doors, and I've received several phone calls. Define short-term rentals. Nowhere in this building is there a blurb or a dictionary statement of what short-term rentals are. So if somebody's gonna say to you, Cheryl, we're already doing it, but we're just not telling anybody. What's a short-term rental? It's 30 days or less, correct? Well, maybe we need a definition and then everybody would know that short-term rentals are not allowed because you have to rent 31 days or more. I think that's where our problem comes with a lot of that because we fail to educate the public. But at the end of the day, did Bob not say he's not doing code enforcement? Or was that just not code enforcement for pot?
So I've asked Bob to opine on this several times.
I have
And-
too.
And what Bob wants to do is receive the complaint, investigate the complaint, and send the first 2 letters. And when the first 2 letters don't do anything, and we need to elevate to the next step, that's when he wants to kind of wash his hands from it.
Okay, why would,
Although his agreement says he will go to court, right?
Mhm.
His work. agreement,
Contract.
Yep, says he will go to court. So that's what I know from Bob on an informal basis, right? Does that answer your question?
Well, and it creates, yeah, it answers my question. In my mind, it creates nothing but total chaos because now you have, so. Wow. So the code enforcement officer then would have to take Bob's homework. I wouldn't, if I was a code enforcement, I'd tell you, nope, I'm not doing it. I
Well-
want to see start to finish. If I'm a badged officer and I'm going to make a decision, I want start to finish. I don't want somebody telling me that this is what I think I might have to do.
So that might be a discussion for later on in the agenda.
That's fine.
We'll hold that thought. And my last comment is, he tells us this list continues to grow. And it's the list of, I assume, violations.
Yeah, that was my. next
And
question.
so I have 1, 2, 3, 4. In the packet, 5 and 6. So apparently we've only had, I'm certain I've turned in more than 6 to Bob myself. But at any rate, we got to start, so we have to start somewhere.
Does anyone know where his emissions and errors piece of his contract is?
We're getting a little off topic here. This is a consent calendar. You've
Okay,
made
go
your
ahead. Keep
comments.
going.
Do we have any more? I mean, I'm just like to move
That's
this
okay, keep
along
going.
for people.
That's a good question, Heidi. I think just bring it forward.
No problem. I'll be in his office on Thursday.
Were there any other questions on the consent calendar?
I answered my own question a couple minutes ago, so I'm good.
Roll call when ready.
I think is absent. Glenn,
Yes.
Gracias, Valmir,
Yes,
Pop.
Yes. Unfinished business, number 1, camping park questions. Don, do you have anything?
I have, just kind of an update on what's happening with the upcoming boat launch project in terms of communications. And I do have one question, and I'll start with that first. Given the proximity of the construction at the boat launch water ramps, should we be technically closing off the beach and pavilion, which is on the south side of where that work's taking place, and, you know, formally close the beach and the pavilion, just to reduce risk of anyone traversing or trying to traverse any construction equipment or torn up land there. You know, I think it's the prudent thing to do. It's just because there's no easy way to get from point A to point B there. We asked Mullen, as part of their contract to secure the construction area. I don't think that we are acting in good faith if we're keeping something like this on the other side of the construction area open. And I just, you know, I'd hate for a little kid to be running out, you know, and get hit. So I would like to get consensus that we'll work on a plan to shut down the beach and pavilion area on or about September 11th.
is that gonna affect anything that you already have planned?
No,
Or are
I
you
mean,
able to?
there's no pavilion rentals as of when I wrote this a couple days ago over there. And, you know, the beach is it's after Labor Day, most kids are at school, so, it's minimal at best. I don't see this as a major undertaking. I just think it's just good business practice to,
Will it be defined enough where you can keep people out?
we're gonna have to figure that out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's still in the plan stage.
Yeah, I
Okay.
didn't, I did not specifically say I'm gonna.
That would
do
be
this,
my
this,
only
and this.
question is to make sure it works.
So, but, I didn't want to just act independently, wanted to bring it to the board for a consensus on this.
Any thoughts, Cheryl?
If you're gonna shut it, the boat launch down then probably the rest of that. I mean, I don't know what their construction equipment sitting down there is maybe going to, block the drive around anyways, so, it shouldn't be a problem.
I like the idea of an orange snow fence. Like from the septic system down.
Mhm.
Or something like that. Maybe even just some survey lab.
Yeah,
I
but what's
think that-
nicer about that fence is it's orange, you can see it.
Well, yeah, but we want to have a safe boundary away from the equipment. And so I think maybe if, we work collaboratively with the excavator when they get on site. I certainly think it's a good idea, and that is your question here today. Is it board consensus to shut that side of the park off?
Yeah.
Shall I say?
Yeah.
And so I think, Heidi, do you
Well,
think
the only
that's a good
problem,
idea?
the only problem is then what are you going to do for parking for the, Halloween party? Because that lot will be overflowing full for the Halloween.
You're
party.
gonna have to put them in the overflow boat launch, the overflow parking off the side then.
All the people that go to the Halloween party,
Okay,
they take up, I've got pictures of that parking lot full,
you might have to.
multiple years.
I don't know what to tell you, but you can't, you
So-
can't put it off just for a Halloween party. It may be.
Well, but you're asking just to close off the beach and the pavilion, and you could put some snow fence over there from the pit toilet building over to the beach,
No.
over to the water.
No. No, north of that, because the construction. is
Where you
going to
put
be
that
at
equipment.
And, but I'm just asking you what you're going to do for parking for 60 vehicles for the Halloween party. If you block off, what it sounds like to me is you're blocking off the parking lot too.
Well, isn't there a set of gates there?
Gates?
Mhm.
We don't have any gates.
I thought
No
there was a
gates
set
at
of
the front.
poles there.
There's,
No,
there's,
no gates.
there's overflow parking in the boat where the overflow boat trailer parking is. That
That's what I was
could accommodate
thinking.
20 cars.
The overflow parking?
Yeah.
Okay, that's full too, at the Halloween party. Yeah, that's full too. You're gonna have, I mean, the Halloween party is well attended.
Okay, just
By
like a
people in
garage
the
sale.
community that are not camping at the park. So, that the boat launch parking lot must be open for the Halloween party, and the additional parking west of the ranger station must be open for the Halloween party.
Well.
Now, if you come up with a different plan,
We should have told the excavator that during,
the meeting,
well, during the bid process. Because it's been no secret now for at least a year what our schedule was for construction
okay,
at this site.
I think I have a solution here before
I
we
haven't
keep
seen
going.
change order number 2 yet, so I don't know what it is, to tell you the truth.
So, but we've always known that the boat ramp would be under construction. What were you saying, Heidi?
Okay, you're not closing off. Are you closing off the parking lot where people put their trailers and cars? No, correct?
I don't know how spread out this is gonna be. We're gonna have, what, 6 or 8 dock sections?
I get that too, but take your piece of parking and boom, 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 aisle, because the parking you have right there is for a trailer and a truck. You could just kind of redo your parking. I think if you wait and see exactly where all your heavy equipment's gonna be, and you walk around that park, I think it'll be very easy to see where to park cars.
Well, there's a lot of space down there where they can put equipment that's off to the north part of the, like, for instance, where the volleyball, there's a huge area over there where materials and equipment could be parked, while that, while the Halloween party's going on, which is only one day.
Yeah, I
Always
think
move it to High Prairie Park too.
People park at High Prairie Park?
No, you could move the whole party to a different park.
No, you can't move the whole party to a different park. I'm sorry,
was a
this is
suggestion.
the camping,
I get it, Cheryl, but you
community
gotta think out of the
event,
box on these things.
I guess you better talk to Wisa, about that.
Well,
Because,
maybe we should tell
they're
Lisa
the-
to figure out how to park.
Lisa is the one who puts on the Halloween party. The township just provides, the park. And it used to be at the fire station until, the fire station was under construction one year, and then it got moved out to the park, and everybody loved it being out at the park because it's not so.
But see, there's a
cramped of an
ulterior motive.
area, and there's lots more parking available out there than there is on Old 72 and all that type of thing. So I'm just mentioning, I don't mind the beach. I'm in support of, closing off the beach and the pavilion. But the parking lot,
we'll do our best.
well, and
You
you
moved
need
it
to,
once
you need to
before.
communicate with Wisa because it's their deal and you need to communicate with them and shouldn't be.
It's our fault. And
It
it's
is
our
the-
construction project.
It is the township's park, okay? It's a public park that is accessible to township residents and visitors from anywhere in the world.
Okay,
So,
but when you
we
needed
have
to
lots
move
of
it,
people that come on, and so that parking is absolutely needed. And Chief Flynn, has been out there for many, Halloween parties and, can attest to the fact that there's nowhere else to put all the vehicles that are gonna drive in there, that are people from the community that come to that party.
okay, but worst case scenario, you set a precedence because you've moved it before.
And why was it moved, Heidi?
Because of construction.
Hmm.
I'm writing down, as all you are talking, I'm writing down all the problems. This isn't a big deal.
Right.
I'm
Well,
sure
I
if you-
guess maybe you might want to consult Don, because I know Don is very aware of all the campground bookings that have been made for that day
I
and
do believe I
find out
asked him
if
that
Don
question.
wants to refund all that money. Because you don't have anywhere else for people to camp.
We're not talking about camping, Cheryl. We're talking about a Halloween party.
Point of
So
order here.
If the Halloween party
Point of
takes
order
place
here.
during camping.
So Don's original, as my note indicates, Don's original question to the board was, should we close the beach and pavilion area? And so now it's expanded into this parking lot discussion, which I'm unclear. And so I would like to provide Don with consensus of the board to close the beach and the pavilion area.
yes,
Yes. Yes. Good.
Beginning
All done.
9/11,
Yes.
I can agree with that.
and as far as the party goes, WESDA should be planning it and looking at.
What
that
we ought to
problem in
do
their
is just
plan.
reach out to our customer and verify with them what the needs might be. I have no idea how much of that parking lot's gonna be consumed,
I don't
but I think
either.
quite a bit of it.
You know, but at the end of the day, it's a party. When you have a party at your house and you don't have any more room in your driveway, you park on the street. Well, you got a whole road. Just my opinion. If you really have to have it at the park, then WESDA should be looking at that and it should be in their plan.
Are you good? With your question, did we answer your?
You answered my question, yes. Took a while, but yes. So, the only other thing I pointed out,
Oh, more?
no, real quick, I just want to share, there's multiple stakeholders out there. Lisa being one of them, and yes, I have been working with Ardella and Lois in communications on the Halloween party. Other things that have been done is, once we locked in on the tentative date of September 11th, emails have been sent out to all camping reservations that were on or including September 11th, notifying the customers that the boat launch will be closed and not reopened until spring of 2024. Virtually few responses back, most of them, thank you for letting us know, so they can look at all alternative arrangements. We sent that out a couple weeks ago. We continue to monitor the Beds 24 and as additional reservations, if they get booked, we're notifying them as well. There was a bass fishing tournament, the last one that was scheduled for the last weekend in September. We worked with the DNR to contact the director of that tournament and notify them of the closing. We did that back in late June, early July, so that they would have adequate time to refine a spot for the tournament if they so desired. We also we have some commercial activity there, direct contact with North Shore Dock, who does our docks and buoys as well, but they do an awful lot of service on Elk Lake and launch their big hoist pontoon boat and another service boat from Whitewater Township. I did let them know of the tentative closing date, and they were very appreciative, so they could start conversing with their customers in terms of adjusting schedules, bringing equipment in the fall. Poseidon Marine was also notified. They launched typically out of Bags Road, and I did also let Elk Rapids
What was the
Marina,
first one before that?
North Shore Dock,
Okay.
and then Elk Rapids Marina. I made a courtesy call to them for the simple fact that if North Shore and Poseidon were bringing more docks in for winterization, that Elk Rapids Marina, although they don't pull any hoists or docks out, could get smashed with service requests for winterization. And I just thought it'd be good neighborly to let them know that they may see a really large tick up in early September into staff. Also, the last thing I'm waiting on, I've been working with fast signs for a couple weeks now. I'm waiting on the aluminum, but we've got a number of signs, the largest being 4 foot by 3 foot, that will be placed within the park area. But I was also looking out at High Prairie Park because of the traffic flow that comes through there. I was thinking about entering two signs, almost like a V effect, so that Elk Lake Road, which gets a lot of traffic, people would be able to see those signs and know, even though the boat launch isn't there, but at least. And then there are some yard type of signs, window signs that we could try to, we're going to figure out strategically place where we think high traffic comes from. There's no way that I'll sit here and say we're going to communicate with 100% of the people out there, but we're going to do the best with the plan we got.
What about if we put something on the website?
That'd work. Especially the camp website.
Yeah, good point. I was thinking just the township website.
Yeah, I'd
but-
do it all. I'd cover all my bases, but you know who you didn't, in your whole list of notification, did anybody know, and you use the word DNR, but did anybody physically send something to the DNR, the Coast Guard and the sheriff that that it will be closed? Because you're in their plans, they kind of need to know that. Couldn't think of anybody else. DNR, Coast Guard, sheriff. I don't know if would you need to
If we let
notify?
Greg Bird know, would he get the message out to everyone who's pertinent, chief?
Yeah, he could.
Cause I wouldn't know where to begin with the Coast Guard, right?
Just a comment.
I don't
letter.
think they would launch from our boat ramp. I think they would come in with a helo, but still, the point is good, Heidi. It's
They're
a
in
good
your
point.
plan. You're in their plan.
So I think maybe I'll get some advice from Greg on that. Is that okay?
Usually, when you gotta notify everybody of something, of a project, a party, whatever it is, usually you just send it to, boom, the secretary, wherever their building is, you send it to the secretary. That's all I've done in the past.
Probably should be sending it to the Elk-Seegamog Lake Association.
I was just gonna ask about Esla and Eagle, so maybe them two need notification too. Other than that, I can't think of anybody else you haven't notified. Nice job, Don.
Anything else?
No, thank you.
Okay, page 178 begins the proposed civil infraction ordinance. I'll make a motion to send the proposed Whitewater Township, Grand Traverse County Civil Infraction Ordinance number 51 to legal for review.
I'll second for discussion purposes only at this time.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion.
I would like to see the word badged officer put in there somewhere, because usually your code enforcement officers are badged. And that eliminates only those parties to write infractions. And since that was probably the biggest abruptment in why it didn't get passed first time around, I tried inserting that word. The attorney would have to figure out where to put it, though. And I also think that we have to figure out who's gonna be the code enforcer, because normally your ZO does both. Ours is only doing half.
So this does kind of springboard off of what you were saying earlier, Heidi. So the reason for a badged officer is so we have public identification. Is that your thought?
Public identification, closure that none of us at this table are gonna get up and write an infraction or make a statement that we can.
Okay,
And normally I made several calls to 4 or 5 different zoning administrators in different parts of the state. And basically, yep, they're all, almost all badged. And yep, they cover zoning as well as code enforcement. Not too many of them have 2 people doing it. I only found 1.
Carol, anything?
I don't have any comments.
Don?
No, I just, want to send it back.
So I have several items. But I guess I want to start with a concept first. So if you'll give me a little bit of leeway. We've got several items coming up on the agenda here. The enforcement manual, the code complaint form, and the ordinance enforcement job description, right? Reading specifically what Fahey Schultz had written a number of years ago about this process. Even in civil infraction ordinance, is going to be expensive to enforce. We don't have the staff to do that. How are we going to fund this enforcement effort? So to button up my comment here is I don't really want to send this back to legal
Not yet.
unless we've got an idea of how we're going to enforce it. And so I guess I'm talking about a budget. And that's where I end with this.
Well,
Well, go ahead.
at the end of the day, you guys do get, I don't know how this works, because this is like on a list that I haven't gotten to yet. When a ticket's issued in Whitewater Township, because I see we have several on the sheet every month, do you get a percentage of that back?
So later in the business item, or later on the agenda, you will see potentially citation review board or something like that. I forget what the name of it is. If we elect to do something like that,
So,
create another body within that operates underneath the township board, I've got the impression that that short circuits the district court area. We all just recently dealt with a citation that was issued in the township, right?
exactly, that should have been
And-
issued a different way.
Well, no, this entire board agreed that it was too expensive to pursue.
But if the officer would have wrote a ticket instead of a ordinance violation, they would have handled it.
It was
wouldn't
still,
have ever
it
come
was
to
still a
us.
municipal, it was still a municipal
So-
infraction order.
Do we get any money back or not?
There's a certain percentage that the court deems comes back to us if we have the proper resolutions in place. If we put that board in place, it's my interpretation from the opinion that was written. The township keeps 100% of what that board collects.
If you have I'm gonna use infrastructure to carry it.
Mhm.
In other words, you've done ABC, so we'll give you 100%.
So we've set up that infraction board, right? That the attorney talked about. And I assume that's a group of people here within the township. I don't know what everybody else's assumption was.
I wrote scary underneath that word.
Well, you can see in my writing, when I first put this proposal together, that I didn't support that. But in rereading what the attorney wrote, that's in the packet, describing what that body does and its function, it appears to me like it short circuits the district court thing.
It does.
And that's what this body decided was too expensive a couple months ago.
So I can see your.
We decided what was too expensive a couple months ago. I'm not following your train of thought.
I'm sorry. So there was a CI written, civil infraction written for noise
Oh, a
violation.
noise violation, right,
Yep.
yeah.
And when we found out,
I wasn't here for that decision, but
Okay.
anyways, it was, you decided not to pursue it.
yep, we decided not to pursue
Right.
it because it was gonna be $4,500 for
Right,
us.
right, right, right.
Where if
And
you
that was
would
the
have,
start.
And I think that this, here is, you're assuming, first of all, that this is gonna pass. This does have to go to public hearing. And so this motion is just to get what was previously brought 5 years ago, reviewed. Reviewed, and the opinion does spell out different ways that you can go with it. So, to me, we wouldn't want to bother with a municipal infraction bureau or whatever it is, that we don't have the people for that. And we would just want it to be handled at the district court, and, you know, you might get a little bit of revenue back from that, but I mean, where's this person gonna work? We just don't even have the physical beyond the person. We don't have a place for this person to work. So, to me, right now, this is a motion to just, do we want to have it reviewed? And my, take on it is, you want to have it reviewed with the possible, next step of taking it to public hearing. So that would be the next step, is taking it to public hearing and letting the residents weigh in on, whether they want to have civil infraction. You know, the thing with the civil infraction versus misdemeanor, I don't know, most of you probably are already aware of this, but a civil infraction doesn't go on you don't have any kind of criminal record with a civil infraction. If you go to the step of prosecuting somebody for a misdemeanor and the township prevails on that, then somebody now has a misdemeanor on their record. And that's the reason I was in favor of the municipal civil infraction ordinance to begin with 5+ years ago, is I don't want to see anybody have a misdemeanor on their record for violating the short-term rental ordinance, or even what we have on the books without a separate standalone short-term rental ordinance, or any other thing. Having a misdemeanor on your record is problematic for people. It can affect whether they get loans or not. It can affect whether they get jobs or not. It just generally, I don't think we should be setting the residents of our township up for a criminal record. And of course, the zoning ordinance would have to be amended, because right now the penalty for a violation is a misdemeanor. So as the attorney pointed out in the opinion. So there's lots of work to do before you ever would get to somebody handing out a civil infraction citation in this township. But I think we should get it reviewed and then take the next step as it comes.
Don?
I think everyone will agree that this is a multifaceted task to bring it home. I do not view this as being dominoes or daisy chain. I believe that there's multiple parts here, and I see no issue with them working on parallel paths, i.e. get the legal review from the update for 5 years ago. We're talking about the job description. We're talking about the complaint form. Those things can all move in tandem. They're not going to move as an equal bar, but they will work in tandem to be either completed or moved along. I think there are discussions to be had regarding outsourcing as a third party, a township employee, a municipal ordinance violations bureau. I think those are all those are the, how do you fund this? How does that contribute to the overall cost of having this enforcement program? And I think we're not ready to have that yet. I think that there's some identifiable needs today. I think that we continue to see advancing issues, and although they haven't blossomed into a full-blown problem, I think we are a little bit of the curve here for a change. And I think that we should continue to work these. And so in regards to the motion on the table of sending this to be updated, I'm ready to vote.
Okay. So if we're interested in taking the first step forward, then I have some questions on the actual document itself. And so my questions begin on page 191, paragraph F. authorized township official may issue a citation if a person, to a person, if, based upon investigation, the official has reasonable cause to believe, based on investigation of a complaint by someone who allegedly witnessed a person commit a municipal civil infraction.
But it has to say badged.
Okay. And so one of the things I remember from 5 years ago, or however long it was, is that the public was concerned about a single person having that kind of authority.
Yep.
Is there room for a middle step between Bob's receiving the complaint, Bob doing the investigation, Bob taking pictures and stuff like that, and sending both letters? Then should maybe the board say, okay, Bob, it's time to turn it over to the enforcement officer? Does that decision come back to us as a board? Realizing that puts a delay in the process.
Well, doesn't the zoning administrator have to seek, the zoning administrator can't advance to charging someone with a misdemeanor without board approval. That's somewhere in our policy.
Yeah, but so this would move away from that policy, right, Cheryl? So the policy that's on 191 would replace what's currently there. I agree with what you said, but this would replace that. And so I'm wondering if that middle ground step should be injected somewhere here. And we don't have to hammersmith this out. That can be a later date after the review. I just think that trying to sell this to the public again, where a single person has the authority, you know, how many times do we hear that? How can Bob make that decision? That's a
Well,
good question.
See, that's why I'm
So-
saying, instead of using Bob's name, can we just use, if the zoning administrator is gonna do the code enforcement, then it would be just the zoning administrator. But if now you're going to have two contracted employees, you have to document in here who's gonna do what.
Yeah.
And
Well, you-
now,
yeah.
if I'm the code enforcement person and I'm gonna look at this from a law enforcement standpoint and a detective standpoint, and I'll even go as high as the chief standpoint, I better really have a great working relationship and know everything that person's doing that's gathering that information, because at the end of the day, now I'm the one making the decision whether a ticket's written or not, or it goes to court or not, or the person goes to jail or not. So if your command here is gonna be tilted because you have a zoning administrator and a code enforcement officer. Leave the zoning guy doing the zoning, leave the code enforcement enforcing the laws.
So would the scenario I presented, that middle thing coming back to the board between zoning says, okay, I've taken it as far as I can. Now it's time to go to the next step, which would be code enforcement. Then the board would be deciding, okay, code enforcement person, now you're on, take it.
Somebody has
Take
to
it to
make,
the limit or
right,
whatever.
somebody has to make that decision, because at the end of the day, look where we are in certain things here. And it's because we're missing, or we have incomplete, or we don't know what to do. Okay, let's not screw this up.
I'm sorry, I commented twice, I think, and didn't ask you what you
No,
were.
you're fine. I mean, if you're gonna, that interim step of coming back to the board makes common sense to me, because in essence, you're gonna be initiating an action that's going to have legal expense to it. And I think that should be a board's decision on, you know, as we have in the past, you know, are we gonna pursue this matter and eyes wide open, what's it gonna cost? And
Okay.
so I think I'm seeing it for a different reason than
Yes.
what you are, but
Yeah.
I do. At that point, you're not getting compliance in a amiable way. another couple weeks because of a meeting to bring that up in front of the board to take what next step, I think is.
You might need that time anyways
So,
to put, if it's something really major, you might need that time for further investigation. You might have to bring a third party in besides that.
I agree, but just for different reasons.
Okay, so in paragraph F, can I give the attorney an expectation that somewhere in this paragraph, we expect the board to approve before the citation is written? Whoever writes it, either it's the zoning administrator or the badged enforcement officer. Can I just give the attorney the idea to,
I think my reactionary position to that is I would rather have that in there. And if it deems to be a slowdown in the process, it's an encumbrance, it's not necessary, I'd rather start with that in there, because if it's necessary to amend that out, because we find out that after all that we've done, it doesn't really need to flow that way, we could amend that later if we need to. I think it's easier to back off of that than it is to try to insert that later.
okay,
And
so
ahead.
insert, yep,
I just wanted a number B when it says authorized township official means the township code enforcement officer, the township zoning administrator, a police officer, take out other personnel of the township authorized by
Wait a
the,
minute, what page are you on? honey?
I'm on 190,
Definition section.
definition section.
Okay,
Here's the biggest problem we had last time in the public hearing is the public's perception needs to be an authoritative figure, which means you're wearing a badge. Okay, Cheryl or I couldn't go out in the middle of the street and people look at us like, what are you doing? You don't have no badge on, you don't have no, what are you doing? So if you look at this and it says other personnel of the township authorized by this ordinance, instead of those verbiage, the personnel, a police officer or badged official, then you wouldn't need anything else about that ordinance. Because you want to get away from, if you say other personnel of the township authorized by this ordinance, wow, that's an open-ended statement.
and we've learned from ordinance review, that's a bad thing,
That's
right?
a bad
Yeah.
thing.
So I concur with that. I concur with that. So,
Cause I can shoot a lot of holes in that if you leave that in there. If I'm a common citizen and I want to do something, I could shoot a lot of holes in that if I wanted to.
but for right now, how about if I just say we leave those in there, but put in there, board must authorize.
No, you're still a police officer or badged official authorized by this ordinance or any ordinance to issue municipal civil infraction citations. Cause you already have the zoning administrator in there. You already have the code enforcement officer. The reason we still to this day don't have an ordinance on this is because it said in there that we allowed one of us to write a ticket. And I don't think we should be able to do that. Because I don't think after listening to certain things, certain people said today, I don't think you could be neutral.
Well, if I can comment here, are you done, Heidi?
Mhm.
So I don't know, the two newest members of the board may not be aware of this, but after the 2018 public hearing on the municipal civil infraction, at some point Dell and I went through the ordinance books, and we've got like 8, I believe it was 8. I'd have to pull out my notes on this now, but we've got, and what we were keeping, what we wanted to know was how many ordinances in the township prescribe a municipal civil infraction as the penalty. we have at least 8 ordinances that prescribe municipal civil infraction as a penalty. So right now, we can't issue tickets on those. We can't issue municipal civil infraction tickets because we don't have a municipal civil infraction ordinance. So, there's that. Then you said that it's taken, and this authorized township official, to me, that's just saying you've got to have an authorized township official. It doesn't say who it is. In other documents, apparently it's going to say who that is, or we're gonna do a resolution or something that doesn't have to amend an ordinance every time. I personally don't think any member of the township board should be given authority to issue a municipal civil infraction ticket or a misdemeanor ticket. I think that should be some third party so that we don't have any of that going on. And also looking at the red line on the code enforcement policy on page 215, it doesn't take out the township board directing the county sheriff's department to issue a ticket or to file action with the circuit court. So it does insert as number 3.
Is this a different business item?
No, I'm referring to what you're talking. You stated to me that this
Would replace?
would replace the code enforcement policy.
No,
No, well, you're right. You didn't exactly say that, but you said this would take away the board directing someone to issue a municipal civil infraction. I'm looking at the code enforcement policy enforcement level. And this has been recommended by our attorney. Number 1, obtain voluntary compliance. 2, written notice. 3, second written notice. 4, issue municipal civil infraction citation. 5, township board directs sheriff department issue a ticket or file action with the circuit court. Well, you'd be actually directing your attorney to file an action with the circuit court. But
not to interrupt, but to be clear, this, if adopted, would replace our current enforcement process, taking it out of district court and a misdemeanor and changing it to a civil infraction, which would still be handled by district court.
Yep. Still
And-
good.
I'm saying that the code enforcement policy, which sets out the enforcement levels, I just read you what the enforcement levels are. Okay, so it would allow municipal civil infraction citations. You apparently want to, if I can understand the distinction here, you want the board to approve the issuance of a municipal civil infraction citation before it's done. Is that
No.
what you're saying?
No,
Okay, then I don't understand what you're saying.
so at the point where Bob, our zoning administrator, wants to wash his hands of it. So again, it's my verbal understanding with him is he would receive the complaint, he would investigate it, and he would write 2 letters, okay? When that second letter has expired, we'll say whatever time constraints might have been put in that second letter, that's when the board gets involved. He will say, hey, board, here's what I've done so far. He'll do it through the report that he's provided to us. This needs to go to the next level. And then we approve that the ordinance enforcement officer gets involved. And if that means a civil infraction, then yes, we've authorized it at that point. So.
And I didn't read the proposed ordinance enforcement officer job description how you just described it.
Totally agree, because.
Right.
A different.
So I'm trying to reconcile what you're doing with that with what you want to do here, and it's not meshing.
A different attorney completely provided that, and it was just a sample. of what one looks like. It's not one that would comply with our ordinance because we don't have an ordinance.
But is it not on the agenda to
It
be
is.
approved today?
Well, we could approve it, or we could amend it, or as I'm kind of getting the feel, we're not ready at that point yet.
I don't think
Frankly.
we are.
Okay, and that's,
Yeah,
fine,
it's my personal opinion.
but, at least you've got an idea of what the job description is gonna look like, and will it need to be tailored to an ordinance? Absolutely.
Well, it'll need to be tailored to all the township ordinances because that job as proposed is to enforce the police power ordinances, which they're really all police power ordinances.
So
So,
board consensus that we need to have a little bit different definition on B. I'm not opposed to adding badged official.
Well,
And
it also helps in the security part of it at the end, but go on.
I'm not opposed to adding Cheryl's recommendation that these people are selected by resolution.
well, yeah,
So that,
in case you want to change it,
yeah, absolutely.
you
I
don't
agree.
want to have
I
to redo the entire ordinance and go through public hearing again. We've,
Yeah, I
learned that.
agree. I think that's a reasonable expectation.
and I guess, okay, so I want to know what the definition is of a badged official. A constable? Is a constable a badged official? This township used to have a constable, as
Do
many
you
did
guys
many years
badge
ago.
constables?
Okay, excuse me. Or are we talking a police officer who has been through the training and become a certified police officer maybe 40 years ago and now is just picking up some side work? Is it gonna be, a certified police officer? Or I'm having trouble with badged because I don't know what your definition of badged is.
Badged is a police, fire. Normally your code enforcement is badged. Normally you badge someone so that you can either put them into your command if you have something crazy going on, or when they're with a police officer, well, then you'd have two badges, so that's a good thing. But normally most all your code enforcement people are badged.
So how about if we also add a definition of badged official?
Well, I think we need to because it's quite big.
Yep. Concur. And then
It's like
jump-
credentials, go on.
jumping to packet page 191, where this conversation began. Is it board consensus that from when the zoning administrator washes his hands after the second letter is sent, it comes to the board? Or do you want it to be handed off to the OEO, ordinance enforcement officer? And then before the actual ticket is issued, then the board looks at it? Is that where you see it?
That's what I was thinking.
Okay.
It would go.
All right.
Yeah.
So my note to the attorney will be response. Let's see. Should come to the board before CI is issued. And we'll see what that returns, right? I mean, obviously, we're gonna review this probably a couple more times. Sound okay?
Again, I would just say that as I read the proposed ordinance enforcement officer job description, that person is investigating the complaint.
Understood.
And so if that person is gonna investigate the complaint, then all complaints from the get-go would go to that person. They wouldn't go to the zoning administrator for investigation and send a couple letters and then hand it off to the code enforcement officer. I see that as confusing to the public.
Motion to
Um,
remove the approved ordinance enforcement officer job description from the agenda.
I'll
Can we
second
handle that when we
motion.
get to that agenda item?
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion?
Well, I wasn't ready for the motion, so you'll have
Roll
to
call.
repeat it. I'm not gonna call roll on a motion I don't have down. What's your motion?
Motion to remove approved ordinance enforcement officer job description
Bless you.
from the agenda.
Bless you.
Was there a second?
I second it.
Oh, Cheryl's got her work cut out because Stella's not there. She has no backup.
Please,
What's with Dell?
Hear your comments. Please mute your microphones. Okay, so,
this.
I,
motion is
so,
designed
yeah,
just to take
we're
that-
ready. I'm ready to do the roll call vote on that.
This motion is designed just to take that off of the table because I understand Cheryl's complaints, right? Or not complaints, observations.
Well, I have some on there too, so
That's fine.
let's just focus on one thing at a time.
So we'll just remove that so we don't have roll call when ready.
Pop,
Yes.
Glass, yes, Valmute,
Yes,
Bennett is absent, Glenn.
Yes.
Okay. So now we don't have to worry about the job description matching any of our ordinance. Okay? And so,
can I just ask a question on that?
sure.
Cause at the end of the day, if you hired a zoning administrator that did code enforcement, we wouldn't have this issue. Correct?
Probably true.
Okay, just
Yep,
checking,
probably
just
true.
checking, cause we're going through an awful lot of work when we should probably just be looking at that, but continue on.
My next question comes on packet page 192. And it's in subparagraph 2. Where the citation is sent by first class mail. Should this not have like a return receipt to it?
Okay, it should be, you should have to sign for that. I'm
Well,
sorry.
I'm pretty sure the attorney spoke to that. In the opinion.
I think they did too, Cheryl.
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't have to sign for something like that?
Let me see if I can find it real quick, but he addressed that.
He did.
Yeah, it specifically says what should be. Let's see here.
It's in number 2. In addition, a copy of the citation shall be sent first class mail to the owner, building structure, but it says in the beginning there. I don't know.
Was it different than? first
Okay,
class?
yeah, here it is.
What page of the opinion? Cheryl?
7.
Oh. Okay,
It's, well, I can't read directly from it, but anyways, it does not have to be sent return receipt
Okay,
requested. Can be posted on the property, sent by mail, sent by email.
And delivered.
yeah, hand delivered.
Well, that's posting on the property. So I don't think there's an issue.
Okay,
okay, now if you. Look,
And here again, I think we might be getting ahead of ourselves here because I think if we would just get this to the attorney's office for review, some of this stuff is probably gonna
Go away.
change. So I hesitate to spend a lot of time on this right now.
well. Okay, I get it. So you already answered my next question, which was on section 5 and how we're gonna fund all of this. And we decided to move forward. And those were really the only items I saw in the ordinance itself. So I believe there is a motion out there.
And I guess I would also reiterate, that to the extent. Let's see, where is this? Pages about the Bureau.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah, so that should be in the Fahey portion that is public, right? That's where that should be. But I don't think it's in this business. I don't think it's in the, no, it's gotta be in this business.
Well, I thought it was in this proposed, ordinance that did not pass. 51.
It
I
should
thought
be
it was in here.
separating the two, yeah,
Schedule of civil fines.
there it is on packet page 198, Cheryl.
Okay.
And specifically, they talk about,
Well, that's in the. Yeah, no, I thought it was in our proposed ordinance, and that was, because didn't somebody say earlier that was one of the things people were alarmed about back in 2018? The local municipal civil infraction bureau or municipal ordinance bureau or something like that.
so on packet page 202, they talk about a municipal ordinance violations bureau. And in the red line that I provided for the ordinance, I omitted this section. But I certainly
But-
now see value in adding.
You didn't provide a red line of the prior municipal civil infraction ordinance that I've seen. I didn't see that.
It would be of our current.
Isn't that just the next? Where is it? Just saw redlining here.
Yeah, it's the code enforcement.
Well, it's the
policy.
code enforcement thing.
Yeah. Which,
But I thought it was in this proposed ordinance 51. And now I'm not finding that in there.
I don't believe it was.
No.
Well,
it
that's
wasn't.
weird, because I thought somebody said earlier, that's one of the things that people were, and that, this is the document.
I did say that that was one of the concerns I heard from the public during that conversation in 2018, that they were concerned about a single person. And that was my
And
That's
you know,
response to,
it was the people sitting at this table.
No, the concern, well, there might have been concern about that, but, and I have some pretty extensive notes of that meeting
I do too.
somewhere. But anyways,
I got the DVD.
there was a concern about $500. Yeah, right, here on, this is on page 193, general fines. Citations shall not exceed $500, nor be less than 100. Shall be, not as it proceed into attorney fees. Gosh, I thought there was something in there about this municipal civil infraction bureau, but I don't see it right now, so. Anyways, I would oppose having a local municipal civil infractions bureau. I think it just gets handled by, you give, because that's only, they can't contest anything there. They don't get a hearing with that, where they get a hearing at the district court magistrate level.
yeah, you're right.
So, to me, and specifically, one of the biggest, arguments against, the municipal civil infraction was that, constitutionally, there's some arguments, and I've even talked way back to Chris Patterson about this, and he acknowledged it, is that you don't have the same amount of rights that you do under a criminal, because a misdemeanor is a criminal proceeding. So where a municipal civil infraction is a civil proceeding. So you don't have the same amount of, the same rights that you do in a criminal proceeding. And there's some concerns about that, but the legislature at one point, I forget what year it was, I used to know it, came out with this municipal civil infraction statute and made it a possibility for people to be prosecuted under this. And so a lot of townships have gone to this because it's easier and whatnot. But so you're gonna get some pushback on that if this ever goes to public hearing. That you know, you can't have an attorney and, you know, you're not entitled to discovery and this type of thing. So
But what it does eliminate, Cheryl, if we have this bureau, is the ability for me to request as the municipal civil infraction recipient. I can now claim that I need a formal hearing and you, the township, are gonna have to pony up $4,500
Yep,
just to
do
get
it.
me to show up.
Mm-hmm.
oh, I get that. It's not free. Yeah,
So-
it's not free.
I'm gonna repeat my question. If we're gonna have $4,500 invested in it anyway, why don't we just use the process we already got and spend the $4,500 and get it done?
Because that'll be more expensive.
No, it's the same
Misdemeanor?
process at that point.
Misdemeanor,
It's the
it'll be
same,
more expensive.
no, it's the
Yes, it
same
will.
process. At that point, where a person who requests a formal hearing, it will be the same cost.
Cause you're
And-
doing the same thing.
And civil infractions misdemeanors are
I guess
expunged
I
after
guess
7
I'd
years.
believe that, if I heard it from the attorney. I'm not,
Don't break. the
Yeah,
law.
that's what I was just gonna say, you guys are
I'm-
giving people all kinds of ideas.
I'm pretty sure, and I guess I'd like to hear it from the attorney's office, that prosecuting a misdemeanor is going to be more expensive than prosecuting a municipal civil infraction.
But you have to put the caveat in there, Cheryl, of the person who received the infraction notice requests a formal hearing. At that point, it's all attorney driven.
Yep, 100%.
But didn't you just say, use the process we already have, which is the misdemeanor?
Which is 100% attorney driven.
Exactly,
And so if
from
you,
start to finish.
if you issue me a CI,
Mhm.
all I have to do in the response window is request a formal hearing, and we're right back to 100% attorney.
Where we're at today.
So why are we here?
That was my whole point
You
about,
brought this agenda item
and I
to
asked,
get it
ear-
reviewed.
I asked early on whether or not we wanted to proceed with the civil infraction ordinance at all.
And
or
I-
If we wanted to stay with our misdemeanor process, which you said cost. Okay, well,
No, I also said criminal record.
and
For the
criminal
pilot.
record, yep,
That's a
You
big,
did let me
big,
finish.
big deal.
but that's okay. And that record is expunged after 7 years, and I'm gonna say,
Has to be requested to be expunged.
so,
It's not automatically expunged.
so,
So for 7 years, somebody's gonna have a misdemeanor on their record and have the consequences of having a criminal record.
so you know what that tells me? I better get my stuff cleaned up.
Mm,
I
Yeah.
better stop renting to people who disturb my neighbors. I better stop building without permits.
I'm ready to vote.
So the. Things out my head here.
Talk out loud, cause I have a few going on in mine.
A few voices or questions?
Well, you two go back and forth. You can't even keep track of where you're going, so, okay.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I
no
thought it was
worries.
fairly
I'm used
easy
to
to
it.
follow.
No,
actually.
I'm pretty used to it.
It says right on page 202 that the attorney, in the attorney's overview of civil infractions, enforcing township ordinances via civil infractions actions is faster and cheaper than alternatives. Enforcement can be accomplished without the use of an attorney, streamlined proceedings, overall costs significantly less than enforcement in circuit court or through misdemeanor proceedings.
And if you read up a little further before that, you'll see that the recipient has the right to request an informal or a formal.
Oh, I'm well aware of that.
And so this
Sure.
document was written as
Sure.
if there was no contestment to the ticket being issued. And as we know,
Oh.
a simple statement can contest.
Well, when the alleged violator, has an attorney and
No.
they make discovery requests and that type of thing, various motions, that aren't allowed with civil infractions that would be allowed with, a misdemeanor proceeding, that is going to make the process more expensive for a misdemeanor prosecution. But I think back to the motion.
Did you have some questions?
So the the motion was to send back the civil infraction ordinance, correct? The one that failed.
Yep. And thus far, in discussion, I think we have made 2 amendments. Or additions to it. And I believe one comes from packet page 190. In my notes, the attorney would say, work in board decision. Add definition of badged official. Clean this section up, not allowing other people to issue CI. And then the last note was name these people by resolution.
That's what I have. I mean, not the exact word.
I just don't want to make the same mistakes again. so-
No, that's all, those are all good recommendations, Heidi. And then on packet page 191. Paragraph F, my notes are, should this come to the board at any time before the CI is issued? Is the final determination. So I originally had it between zoning
Right.
administrator.
I'd like to be in from the ground floor. And not get, in other words, we're sitting here, we have to make decisions whether it goes somewhere at the end of the day or not. Let's just put it that way. I would rather know everything that's going on at the beginning to the end than step into the middle.
So doesn't the report,
You would think,
yeah.
but you have to make sure you get a copy of that report.
Well, moving forward. I
Right,
think
moving
that's gonna
forward,
be
hopefully
required.
that's what we're gonna get.
Yeah.
But
So we should, as a board member, be totally advised of, there's this happening at this address. And we are in letter 1 phase or letter 2 phase. So we should know as board members what phase it is in, right?
right, because we're not doing due diligence if we're not following it.
Okay, sure.
Something that concerns me about, putting a board decision in there on whether the ordinance enforcement officer can, or whoever's gonna, enforce this. Something that concerns me about that is, that with the ordinance enforcement officer, it should be someone from outside the community. to reduce the amount of inherent bias that might, enter into a decision like that. When you put the board in there, now you're gonna have 5 people who live in the community, who may or may not know the alleged violator. And then you're going to have subtly, certainly not, wouldn't be stated out loud, but you're always going to have the undercurrent of whether the board voted to proceed with stricter enforcement action based on whether it was a friend of a couple of the board members, something like that. I see reasons to keep the board out of that decision and have the ordinance enforcement officer, an unbiased ordinance enforcement officer who's not tainted with opinions of board members or information from board members. Well, you know, that's a buddy of mine. I really wish you wouldn't go too hard on them. Excuse me, Heidi. Just trying to get my thought out here. I'm almost done, and then you can talk all you want. I see issues with that, and I see the public having issues with that, and I see the public being concerned that that type of bias could creep into and lack of transparency could seep into decisions of the board. I really do see that as something that the board should not be involved in.
Heidi?
Is a citation how can I put this? When a citation is written, is it public knowledge immediately?
No. There'd be some delay.
But sooner or later, it would be public knowledge, right?
I assume. I mean-
That's where I'm just
We-
trying to balance this out in my head.
We have no publication policy because
Exactly.
we can't issue.
But if
CICs.
somebody FOIA'd it.
Yeah.
They would be, like, if somebody wrote a FOIA once a week, any citations written,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. It would be public knowledge.
Yes,
I
Okay,
think the
thank you.
attorney addressed what could be made public and
Yeah.
what shouldn't be made
Yeah.
public there.
I see
In a
Cheryl's point. And it's the opposite point that one person can also be biased. And so I think that if there's a group of people, are we likely to be biased as one person? I don't know. And so I'm in favor of leaving that in there and maybe adding the statement, have attorney advise.
Well, there you go. Board on issue pending.
On board involvement.
On impending issues.
I mean, this is not gonna be the final look, right? So they may come back and say, yeah, stay out of it. And then we have to deal with the. Just the mechanics from there. Yep.
It's a good idea.
I mean, if you're gonna give somebody the authority to enforce municipal civil infractions, then they have the authority. And they shouldn't need board approval every time they want to. Well, if you're gonna give somebody ordinance enforcement authority, I should say, including municipal civil infractions or not including municipal civil infractions, leaving it at the misdemeanor level, then they shouldn't need authority from the board on every specific matter. They should be the ones determining what is serious enough to, take to court. That's just my opinion.
Cheryl has a point, and we have a similar case with the Board of Review. So a petitioner would come to the Board of Review, say, you know, I don't like my taxes for whatever reason, I'm oversimplifying here. And then all of a sudden, they would file with the Michigan Tax Tribunal. When I first took office, that filing then went directly to the attorney's office. Because we needed to be represented. Well, as it come to find out, we were paying hundreds of dollars, maybe even thousands in some cases, to protect a $7 investment. And so I came to the board in 14 or 15 and said, this doesn't make financial sense to me. Does it to the board? Should we prosecute these things? And the determination was no, we should not. And I don't think we've prosecuted an MTT case since. We've just capitulated. Because it's $7 out of our pocket. Why would we throw good money after bad? And I think this, as you brought up, Don, the financial aspect, Cheryl, the board, without this step, would be authorizing likely a $4,000 or $5,000 expenditure to start. If it goes to court, if the CI goes to court, then it will be an expenditure of that. We already know that from experience as of this year. So while we did give them the authority, a person, the authority to enforce it, does it make financial sense for us to go there? And I think it's just the same. Roll call when ready.
The motion is to send proposed Whitewater Township, Grand Traverse County Civil Infraction Ordinance number 51 to legal for review.
And it was seconded, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Roll call when ready.
Yeah, I'm not ready yet.
I'm sorry. I thought you were just restating them.
No, I wanted to restate the motion. I wanted it restated in the minutes because we've had another motion in between. So I want the minutes to be clear about what we're voting on here. Glenn,
Yes.
Pop,
Yes.
Bennett is absent. Goss, yes. Valmu,
Yes.
We are past our 3-hour mark. Any thoughts about moving on? I could use the bathroom.
Cheryl, you don't
Bathroom
have to do
break?
it today.
hey, I'm going to.
Just checking.
What's that, Cheryl?
I'm going to take a lunch break. You guys can continue on with the agenda.
Okay,
Fine with me.
Well,
we
let's at
take
least,
5 minutes break.
can we take like 10?
all right, 10-minute break.
Just wanna walk around.
So we will see each other at 12:35. I'm sorry? Isn't it online? What do you mean it's not the same? There's different documents provided online than there isn't. Well, then I would definitely get a copy of that, and I would be asking people why there's different documents. But you might want to do that after the meeting.
Damn right.
Well, I guess I would impound that copy. I don't care who hears us.
I will be sitting here after the meeting, word for word, and I'm going to come up with something different. And you know why I did that?
I don't.
'Cause
But
I read another
We're not in
document
session.
somewhere.
We're not in session. So. Well, we're gonna change the name on the fifth part. Yeah, the purchase order for the pump, but that was Cheryl's email. We conversed and thought that maybe there was an addition, a different prompt. And, you know, it's, you know, like we talked about TC golf carts. They come out, you know, it's cost $100 to pick it up and take it back, you know. I don't know if I'm ready to deal for $100, I'm ready to deal for $50, and I'm ready to deal for $50. There's just gotta be some clarification. Fix it. They send them all the way back to animal office, so you wait 3 days. Right. And then have them come back. No, I totally. There's gotta be some common sense approach to this. No. Ready, Heidi? Yep. Oh, I don't know. I think we're in unfinished business number 3.
Okey dokey. Moving right along. Papers upside down, right?
You have thoughts on unfinished business number 3, then? I'll make the motion. To adopt the Whitewater Township Code Enforcement Policy and Procedure Manual as amended August 8th, 2023.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion?
The genesis of this started with the one that 2012, reviewed by legal, recommended changes, brought everything forward, and now we're incorporated those changes and
Yep.
and bringing it into today's environment.
Yep, and on packet page 207, you can kind of see where we had discussed this during our August,
Yep. Yeah.
and that was of 2022.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Just walk, piece walking.
Yep.
Yep. The original document there.
On page 208,
Yeah.
yep.
to
And
see what
so
changed, yeah.
the only thing I didn't include from that review was that violation board.
The bureau,
Right.
yeah.
And so I wonder if we shouldn't get more information on how that is created and whether or not it short circuits that. ability.
Hang on, I can't hear you.
That's all right. We should take it to the other end of the hall, I believe is the instruction, right?
That was it too, but,
That was the original.
okay,
instruction.
continue on now, sir. I can hear you. I'll just move.
So I'm thinking that the,
I'm listening.
I'm thinking that that board has the ability to eliminate the request for a formal hearing. Because I think it's all dealt with at the township level. Which would we,
It'd probably stay there.
yeah, which would stay there because all the fees that come to the township.
Right.
That's
It's an
why I think-
offset, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's an offset to the court. Whether or not we thought it was a good idea to form another board, I guess becomes the question. And I originally didn't think so. But when I got looking into what it takes to enforce a CI, an infraction ordinance, we're just not there. We're gonna spend,
People.
well, we're gonna spend $100,000 a year just to enforce that civil infraction ordinance.
Unless you have a zoning officer that does code enforcement.
No, even still,
No,
Wow.
Still,
even
because,
still.
because you're pushing everything to. It's either they pay or they contest, and there's no in between, and the bureau allows you to take the expense, take the certain legal expense, because you're not incorporating lawyers and attorney, you have a board that's hearing that.
Don, you gotta talk in your mic.
So that's my interpretation, and maybe what we need is an idea from the attorney, some more explanation of what that board does. That might not be, my interpretation might not be.
We
correct,
might be
but
missing something
Yeah.
too.
We might be missing something.
Well, and I mean, the other thing is we keep saying, we've said a bureau. Okay, define that. Is that more than one, less than five? Is it a?
How many people are on it and how
Right.
far does it go?
How do they function? You know, how are they set up? Where do they fit? I think, I like the idea of the board, the bureau. I conceptually, I think that seems to be, I think that would be a more effective way to handle these things. And if we do generate revenue from those, then that's an offset. But I think the setup is not something. I'm
You can't
familiar
hear,
with that I
can you?
think we need.
Excuse
Okay,
me,
no.
she can't even hear because again, now she opened the door. Cheryl, this is really rude because we can't hear you, and I'm really sorry about that. Oh, please.
But the clerk's office is open, you'll have to deal with it.
Well, earlier you told your own employee to take it to the other end of the office, so. So I'm gonna
Just start
recommend,
screaming, 'cause
I'm
can't
gonna
hear.
recommend that we more information on the Bureau
Yeah.
before moving forward.
Municipal
on
Ordinance
this.
Violations Bureau, I would agree.
maybe a definition.
How would that fit into this existing document? What does that look like? And we need to understand the makeup and how it functions.
And a better definition? Maybe.
Yeah, definition, Heidi, that's what we're kind of talking about there.
Okay. So. I
Is
withdraw
is
my
that going to be
motion.
tabled until we?
I'll withdraw my second. So you're tabling it till we get those answers, basically?
Yeah, I'll just bring it back.
Okay.
And I think the same for unfinished business number 4, no sense of moving forward.
Right.
Number 5 has already been removed. So that brings us to unfinished business number 6.
And we can just take a vote on that because we had a discussion in our PC and ready to go. If you look back, it's in past minutes and I was able to get the two gentlemen to confirm it. So we can pay them now.
I don't believe that was ever the question,
That was,
so we'll make a motion. Is there a motion?
there is. Hold on, I've got an extra draft of it.
No motion is made pending.
Well, there is,
There's
a
a
motion
motion
that's
on
in
it.
the packet,
It
motion to
is.
approve payment to Keith DeYoung and Al Keaton for their participation in the 4/13/23 and 4/27/23 special subcommittee meetings at the rate set forth on the current salary wage schedule.
Are you making that motion, Cheryl? I'll second
I
it.
just did.
I'll
Motion
second
made
it.
and seconded. Further discussion? So I thought we were at the point where board pays their subcommittee members and some subcommittee members are not getting paid in this motion. How do we treat subcommittee members that attend the same meeting? Some get paid and some don't. I thought that was the question.
And we had a discussion that we pay, that if everyone was gonna sit on a committee, that they should be paid, and the overall consensus was, if you don't wanna get paid, donate your money back if it's gonna be such a
Okay.
big problem.
So who else attended this meeting?
This was a plan, which one, this one?
Okay, that's a policy issue and
Yeah,
we
you
just need
can't-
to get these people paid. Their timesheets have been sitting there for going on 4 months now
Okay,
in
well,
our office and we would just like to get them paid. They've
Just
done
pay
the
'em.
work. And I think if you want to have some kind of discussion about what's the policy to pay for
Yeah.
paying people that don't, that's not part of this motion.
that's where I was getting at, is down the road, if you're gonna either pay everybody or pay just people requested, there has to be a policy change in order for that to happen. You can't just tell people, we're paying you, you can just donate it back.
It's not a change in policy.
I know. it
That is
already
our
a
policy.
I know
That is our
that.
policy.
That's
So
what, okay, go ahead.
have the planning commission stop changing our policy.
I'm really working on that, Ron.
So
Well, and some of the people that are on some of these committees, they're not otherwise township employees, so we don't have their payroll information. So at this point, we couldn't even issue them a check if we wanted to.
Right,
So
so they've got you
here's-
anyways.
you're indicating that there are subcommittee members who are not currently township employees
Vicky Beam.
and not being paid?
Vicky Beam is on the ROS committee. She's not a township employee and she
Okay.
doesn't want to be paid.
I think Denise is on there also.
We have Denise's payroll information, when she was an election worker about 9 years ago.
But she would have to submit a timesheet to get paid.
No,
No?
that's not
Okay.
true.
All
We
right,
have
well,
meeting attendance sheets that the recording secretaries fill out. There's no time sheet.
well, the
I
issue
think
at
the thing
hand
of it
here
is
is these,
that
pay these two
To me,
people.
the thing of it is we already have on the salary wage schedule that planning commission subcommittee members get paid,
Yep.
whatever it is.
Mhm.
So is that the blanket, is that the blanket policy that they always get paid? I do remember this issue coming up previously with Tom Cosgrove when he was placed on the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee. And he didn't want to be paid, and the township said, you have to. We can't treat you differently than we treat anybody else on that committee. We have to pay you. You can do whatever you want with the money. You can donate it to whoever you want. Throw it out the window of your car as you're going down the road 50 miles an hour. We don't care what you do with the money, but you will get paid. So I kind of feel like that set a little bit of a precedent, and maybe we should be paying all subcommittee members, whether or not they want to be paid. Now, if they don't want to give us their payroll information, we can't get them in the payroll system, and that's the only way to pay them. So, because it is a wage and it has to go through, it has to have taxes taken out, blah, blah. So, they're not independent contractors. So I don't know what you want to do with that, but for today, the only motion on the table is to approve this payment for 2 meetings. And I think we should have gone through and got this done last month. It's been another month now, and I don't want to see a policy issue, if we have one, hold up their payment any further. They did provide these services. And this committee was set up for a specific purpose, and they are no longer meeting.
Correct.
I think we also did it for the marijuana subcommittee.
We got paid.
Yeah.
On the marijuana subcommittee.
So the fact that the planning commission isn't aware, I think is probably the key, right? So
They're
we
aware
just-
now.
Could be.
We just make them aware that this point forward, if you sit on a committee, you're gonna get paid. Or nobody's gonna get paid.
Well, they should be paid back then, because if that's the policy, then they should have been paid from the beginning.
I agree. I
So,
agree.
But if they don't
You
get
know,
you
but
your
here again-
payroll information, then they're sticking it right back
That's
in
right.
you. No, I
Okay,
don't
so
want to
Tom
be paid.
McElway, that's the other one. Tom McElway is also on that committee, and he is not otherwise a township employee.
Is he paid? He's not, he didn't want to get.
No
paid
one's
yet.
paid on that committee.
Okay.
They didn't, any of them. This is a different
I know this is
subcommittee
a different
than the
subcommittee,
resident
right?
outreach
So if
subcommittee.
the resident
This is different.
outreach doesn't want to be paid, do we need to put something in policy for volunteers like we did at the park when you sign a volunteer waiver? If you don't want to be paid, you're a volunteer, you sign this waiver.
And to me,
then-
that's not part of this discussion.
No, it's
and
not.
it
It's
needs
for
to be brought
another
back
time.
Another day,
Right.
and we're
Let's
just
just
spinning our
vote.
wheels
We
talking
got,
about
we
it.
got one, let's vote. And I'll make a note to bring something back for volunteers.
Roll call when ready.
Bennett is absent. Bauman,
Yes.
Pop,
No,
Glenn,
Yes.
Goss.
just to be clear, I cannot treat one employee different.
I
than the
get
other.
it. I get what you're doing.
So I'm in favor of paying all of them And like Cheryl said, whatever you do with the check, it's up to you. New business number 1. Looking for a motion? Motion to permit Chief Flynn to purchase 14 new fire helmets from the fire store.
What about the .gov thing? Was added.
Oh, under new,
Isn't that
bus- yeah,
as-
unfinished business. I'm sorry. Yep. Thank you, Cheryl. So. .gov. Sent me, this email that you see in front of you, says our request is gonna expire on 9/4.
Came quicker than we thought.
I had no idea there was a time clock attached to
I
this,
didn't even.
I didn't either. I thought it was open-ended.
none, and so.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
The next page is minutes that indicate we provided for the moving over to Microsoft 365 to host the boxes,
Yeah.
but for some reason, we stopped short of moving to the .gov extension. I don't really recall why. I think it was because we were looking for, I was looking for information on when the best time this transition might take place, but we don't have that opportunity now. We have to reserve this website now.
And I'm sorry that I missed it, but what is the status of our domain request?
It's active, but we need to respond by 9/4.
Whether we're gonna. in
Whether,
or
whether
out.
or not we want it. Yeah,
Well, the board already approved it.
no. And so I was right there with you, Cheryl, but as this excerpt from the minutes from our 6/13 meeting, motion by Pop to move to .gov email extension as soon as we are approved. That motion was not seconded.
Was it because we were gonna have to change our email
Yes, it
addresses?
was. Seconded by Valmute. Motion by Pop, this is page 4127. Motion by Pop to move to .gov as soon as we are approved. Second by Valmute.
My copy says motion not seconded.
Page 4126.
You're on the wrong page.
You're on the wrong page.
On the next page, the motion was made again.
Made again.
However, then the motion failed. I asked when we can expect approval. You don't know, it's in final stages. So send out an email.
So it
Wants
failed
everyone to set the
because,
calendar, when it's a bad time,
That's where I'm getting that.
so. Move to gov as soon as we are approved. No, everybody voted no.
because we were gonna have to, were we not gonna have to change our emails to .gov?
Was it that we no to moving as soon as we are approved? Because I believe we approved moving to .gov,
Well, that's what it says.
getting the .gov email extension. So I think the
Soon.
critical part is as soon as we are approved. And that elicited no votes.
Because we weren't approved yet, right?
Well. No,
Well, it was
because we
be-
all agreed that there was better times of the year. We were gonna try to make it as seamless as possible, and the request was, I'm sorry to cut you off, Gerald, but
Oh, no.
was to send back time that you really felt you couldn't just do it. Audit periods, elections.
Right.
And so,
Taxes.
taxes, yeah, and so. My recollection was, is there's never a good time, but let's just try and find the best of the worst.
So the fact that I think we're overthinking this. Just because we accept the .gov domain
doesn't mean we have to implement it ASAP.
Well, it's going to be active as soon as we,
Yes.
yeah. Well, we have to have somebody host it. So just like GoDaddy is gonna have to host, this is gonna be a complete new email. And so there will be a redundant email address that's attached to all of our communications that go out when NetLinks starts this migration process that we approved, right? So when they start that process, we are gonna have to notify people that, hey, note my new email address. It's gonna go to both places. And in the meantime, they are gonna migrate all of our old stuff into
The new stuff.
the new server farm. Yep,
So now maybe this may help. These are my personal notes, but I wrote them in a step action. Step one, moving from Spectrum to Microsoft hosting. We've obviously passed that. Number two, hire network business solutions to migrate the Spectrum to Microsoft. And we talked about a cost there coming $4,000 coming out of contingency fund. Step number three, network business solutions would then be the sole Microsoft
partner.
partner of record. Thank you. And then four, I put in there, move to .gov as soon as we are approved. However, underneath that, there was a to-do for the team, email Ron with times that it would be appropriate time to migrate the email from .org to .gov. Because I think that's where I didn't pick up, I may not have picked up the notes that like, we're not gonna do it like that because we have to get these steps done and then pull it over.
And I think we just need to get approved, and then Ron can let us know we're approved. And then we can decide, okay, are we gonna do it in 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever?
We are approved. That's what the
Yeah.
email that starts this out says, we are approved, and it's going to expire on 9/1.
So we have
9/4.
to adopt the approval, basically.
I got an email, let's see, from them, I think just.
Okay, well, this doesn't say that it's approved, so hence the question.
Well, it's
This
gonna
particular
expire.
email here doesn't say that it's approved. It would have been nice to know that. And I presume that, if it's approved, then we can contact, because NetLink may not be able to start all the work they need to do, like lickety split. You know, I think we just,
I received notification of the approval on June 23rd.
okay, so apparently it's going to expire if we don't do anything with it, so.
Right. So if we want to make the move, no matter when, I do need to reserve that site. And to do that, I need to have a host farmer, a host farm, like GoDaddy, to reserve that site.
Well, that would be NetLink
Yeah.
to do that.
Yeah, we have. to
So
have
I
a
think the
purchase
next
order
thing
for
is
that.
to contact NetLink and find
It's
out,
already been done.
okay, so you've contacted NetLink.
Yeah, we've contacted NetLink. Now, they've not given me a price, but the last one was like $250 or $300 for the annual. So I just asked for a purchase order not to exceed 500. I can't imagine this is any different, but it might be. And we'll get this step taken.
Please send a request for purchase orders through email, because I'm attaching them to all the purchase orders. And they've been told that this expires 9/4?
Yep.
Okay,
Well, Kelly's on the account, right?
sure.
Sure. So this,
So you need a motion then?
Don't know what the motion would be. We've already approved NetLink doing all this. It's just the timing we don't know of, but we have to get this GoDaddy thing or whatever, which we already got that for something. We've already got a GoDaddy account for what was it? I don't remember now.
That's what we
Something.
moved to from Spectrum was GoDaddy,
Okay, well, we already got that.
but this
I'm
will be
pretty
different. It's like a different business license, Cheryl. One person could have several business licenses,
Okay.
right?
Okay,
So we are gonna have to reserve our own business, our own license with GoDaddy for this particular.
oh, okay, I
Got it.
remember what it was now. We went to GoDaddy to be our domain host.
Right.
That's what we did there. So, I mean, that's hosting our website. Spectrum's hosting our email, but now Spectrum isn't gonna host our email. So to me, I would think we would be able to use the same account.
We cannot.
Okay, then I would get the purchase order and get that going and get that account so they can, and then have us. Della, I don't have a November election.
That's not
The-
on this discussion.
I'm talking, you wanted to know about timing and I think
No,
we're
I
just
want
discussing
writing.
timing.
I want it in writing,
Okay, well,
just as
you-
we wanted.
you can get it in writing. Sure, yeah, that's fine. I can put it in writing. Della can, everybody can.
Good. Roll call when
But,
ready.
I think, I don't know that we needed this motion to, get this going with NetLink.
Well,
What's the motion, by the way?
Yeah,
This was added to the agenda. There's been no motion.
so.
No
if-
motion's been
if you don't
provided.
Think a motion is needed. I'm fine with that. I'll just go ahead and,
Well, a motion isn't needed to, get a purchase order for $300.
Okay.
So, if that's what you think you need if you think we need another GoDaddy account, and then I guess we just get that going.
so. We're
Yeah.
still not moving to .gov, but we're gonna hire the,
no, don't we need a motion to move to .gov?
yeah, I'm gonna make a motion
Just
to
make
move
it.
to .gov.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Roll call when ready.
You seconded that, Heidi?
I sure did.
Motion by Pop to move to .gov. And this is for email purposes?
That's our entire domain, Cheryl.
Okay,
So that'll be website, everything that all of our electronic footprint will be .gov.
right. Pop,
Yes,
Nick is absent. Bauman,
Yes,
Goss, yes, Glenn,
Yes.
so the motion passes. And I will email you a PO request. Now we're on new business number 1.
Motion to permit Chief Flynn to purchase 14 new fire helmets from the fire store and 14 new helmet shields from Gold Fire Incorporated, not to exceed $6,300, which includes $5,670, 2% grant funds.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Roll call when ready.
Bauman,
Yes,
Goss, yes, Glenn,
Yes.
Bennett is absent. Pop,
Yes. Yep, I think two's already been handled, so that brings us to new business number 3.
Snow removal.
The last time this was sent out, I had chief review this, fire chief,
Mhm.
and I think we added the driveway on the east side of the building and the rear parking lot. I think that was his comments.
That was added last time.
Was it added last time
Oh,
already?
yeah, that's been done
It was done a while. ago.
17, or they moved into the building and the new part of the building in 17. So that driveway was there and that parking lot.
Motion authorizing the clerk to publish a snow removal specification as amended in the Traverse City Record Eagle and the Elk Rapids News for bidding purposes.
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion.
Well, I would just note that you don't actually publish these specifications. You would have a small advertisement for bid thing or something like that, like we've used before, because it would be very expensive to publish the document itself. Instead, you have that on you direct people to your website where they can download it and fill it out.
That seems reasonable.
But you're done in the process you already said.
So we'll amend the motion.
The amendment,
We'll amend the motion authorizing the clerk to publish the notice. We're receiving snow removal bids. See township website for specifications and bid form.
I'll take
Due
mine.
date. We want a due date on that?
Oh, good point.
Yep.
So
Who, what, when, where, how.
is there a second on the motion?
I'm gonna redo my second.
So are we approving the actual language that the clerk will put in the notice, or are we just approving the purchase?
I was expecting you to provide that, actually. Probably can just copy the one we had previously and change the due date.
So I could amend my motion. I think I asked for them to be back by September 29th, I think. Yep.
Yeah, you better. It snows in October here.
And our October meeting is what date? Do you happen to know?
It would be October.
Do you have some language that you would like to submit?
10th. Do I have language?
Yeah, for the motion that would then just be used as a notice.
No, I hadn't thought that far. I just did, was talking about date. I mean, seems like, why recreate the wheel? If we had a RFP that we sent out before.
Well,
use
just
the
that
same
you
notice-
know that-
Use the same notice, change the dates.
Yeah, why not?
Is September 29th, 2 weeks before our meeting? That's when the packet's supposed to go out,
No, it's
10 business days.
That's Friday. So the 30th is Saturday, September 30th is Saturday, so. 1, 2, 3.
Need to be back
to
on the date.
October 3rd, 10th. So. You know, why would you want to cut it that close? Why not just bring it forward?
Okay.
Forward a week,
All right,
September 22nd
September 22nd.
for the bid date.
Sure.
I can look up the past ad and just revise it and get it posted.
Okay.
Well, and I say revise it. I'll send it to the Traverse City Record Eagle and the Elk Rapids News.
Roll call and ready?
Goss, yes, Glenn, and actually we're approving the specifications, right? Is that what the motion is?
Yeah.
Forgotten what the motion is now. Well, it's to publish the new
Is
snow.
to publish the new specifications. So I think what we do is,
Well, then, I'm sorry, you made a new motion. You amended that, authorize the clerk to publish a notice. We are receiving snow removal bids. See township website for specs and bid form. Okay, that's what we're voting on.
so. Yeah, I don't know what the other notice said. Maybe it didn't go to the website. I don't know.
Oh, I'm sure it did.
So,
Positive. We always have put it on the website. That's
We're
how
not
people
putting
got it.
specs in the ad because of the density,
Because of-
then it's gonna
sure.
have to refer back.
yeah, but so
Intuitive.
the notice 3 years ago, I'm not sure it was posted on the website. I don't know that. But I think the intent is to post it on the website. Agreed?
Agreed.
Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
I'm sending it to the Record Eagle. I'll send it to you. You can post it on the website. I'll just provide it forward.
So what is the motion?
You amended the motion, authorize the clerk to publish a notice. We are receiving snow removal bids. See township website for specifications and bid form.
By
So it's to
September,
post the notice.
by September 26th,
Bids to be returned by 9/22 is what I heard.
or 9/22, I'm
That's
sorry.
the-
Yeah,
That's,
yeah. Okay. I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
Roll call when ready.
Goss, yes, Glenn?
yes,
Janik is absent. Pop?
Yes.
Bellamy?
Yes. We have a piece of new business in our packet that ain't on the agenda.
The MMR?
No, the Girl Scout Free Library.
We already approved that. That was last month.
Wasn't that, I meant to put it in correspondence. Did I get it in the wrong spot? We agreed that because it was added, we would bring it back as correspondence in the following packet. That's my recollection
Okay.
of my direction. Did I put it in the wrong
It's got
spot?
it's got a motion on it, so, okay.
Well, but under correspondence, we aren't doing any motions under correspondence.
I'm
My
sorry,
question-
maybe that's too confusing, but at least that's,
I'm okay with it. I just wanted to.
It went under correspondence, as I understand, because Don brought it to the meeting, it wasn't in the board packet.
Correct.
It was an add-on, like the.
Just
Right.
like
Like the
Rachel
vice Rachel
When
said.
those things are put under correspondence, the motion should be crossed out or something, so people don't think it's an item of business.
Right,
that
cause
we're
see, I
supposed to
thought it
take
was
up.
another business.
I see your
thought-
point.
I thought
Okay.
maybe we were
Yeah.
changing
Well,
parts, but
This
Can
was
I
the
just-
first month we've done this,
that,
right?
yeah,
So,
okay. Can I just make a comment on it?
No,
No, okay,
because it's a correspondence item.
all right, I'll bring it back.
New business number 5, got resignation letter from Tim Aaron's. We make a motion to accept the resignation letter of Tim Aaron's dated 7/25/2023.
Are you gonna read it?
No, there's
A second.
motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Roll call when ready.
I will, not further embarrass, Tim Aaron's by
Roll call when ready.
telling the public, other things that he talked to both my deputy and the deputy
Oh,
treasurer
we're
about,
Aaron.
that he billed the time for to the
Point out
township.
what we're talking about.
Also, his entire pay issue could have been avoided by Ron Pop appointing him as of April first. As it happened,
Shouldn't
he
be talking
appointed
about
him
this.
March 20th, and then against
order.
policy, the board at the last meeting.
Point order, I'm gonna
uh,
cover my
I'm
ears.
sorry, I'm not finished. Excuse me, I'm entitled to make my public comment. You, call for
not
discussion.
It's not a public
It's-
comment in that
it's-
chair,
it's
Cheryl. You gotta
discussion.
go to the
It's
podium.
discussion, and we are allowed to have
You're
discussion
in a
on.
danger
business items.
zone.
Yeah, well, I'm just gonna finish my discussion, and that is that, all of it could have been avoided, the pay issue, because he only got 15.25 hours in March. And as it was, the
That's always
board, while I was out of the room at, I believe, the last meeting, approved his pay to 22.93 or whatever it was. And, against what the what the graded wage scale says, which says
Alright.
explicitly, and this policy was poured over for months by this board to determine how that document should be used way back when, that employees are not entitled to a raise within their first 6 months. So it all could have been avoided by simply appointing him as of April 1st. So I do know Della had some comments, but obviously she's not here, so.
I do apologize, board. But clearly the clerk is gone wayward on this particular topic. And no raise was given in the 6 months.
A raise was
correction-
given in 6 months.
Correction to his starting wage was made.
No, your motion in
Well,
March
I'll
was to
read
pay
it
him
for
at the
the
rate
last
of,
time.
your motion
You're
in
out.
March was to pay him at the rate of 21.63 an hour, and anyone can check that in the minutes. Your memory is faulty.
We should talk about employees and privacy, but okay.
Glenn,
Yes.
Pop,
Yes.
Goss, no, Valmute,
Yes.
Bennett is absent.
So we added MMR agreement.
So we need a motion to get that discussion going.
Yeah,
Motion to approve MMR contract renewal. Effective December 1st, 2023.
Seconded.
I'll second.
Oh, you did?
If you didn't hear me, you can do it. I don't care.
No, that's fine. If it was picked up, that's fine.
Since I started the motion, I got a question. So this came in last week and it, to put on today's agenda, which is good because I think it needs to look at it. I was not around. Heidi might have been first time this contract came through. Did MMR send across any cross-reference document as to what is changed in this new agreement versus what the old agreement was? Did they give us a red line or a blue line that said, okay, your old contract, which we obviously have, here's your new contract and here's your points of interest that changed? Did they provide us with that?
No,
Could we get that from them?
good ask.
And two, and help me understand. So this is a partnership with MMR, Acme Township and Whitewater. And they are looking for a 5-year renewal beginning December 1st, 2023. That will take us out to 2028. Wasn't there a renewal done on the ambulance millage that only takes it out to the end of the fiscal year 2000? I'm sorry, we renewed it till 2025. So I know in the budget session on 3/21, we authorized the collection for another year, but the current millage that was done is in effect until 2025. How is it functional, or is it even permissible for the township to enter into a contract that extends past the current millage date, basically leaving 3 years of this contract potentially unfunded? The commitment is there, but the millage in effect, would have to be, but are you making a commitment that you can't make because you don't have funding
That's what I
to
was.
extend it to 2023? And I'm not, maybe
That-
somebody knows that answer, maybe they
Dan,
don't.
Cheryl was raising her hand.
Oh, I'm sorry, Cheryl, I didn't.
Oh, I was
Oh, I'm
waiting for
sorry.
the supervisor to call on me.
Sorry.
So the
Thought you guys would look.
millage was renewed last August, a year ago. The millage is levied on the December tax bills. That authorized the millage to be levied in 22, 23, 24, and 25. The millage would have to go on the ballot again in 26.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then that again leads me to where, so, I mean, is it realistic that we couldn't sign a 5-year contract today?
Well,
Because
you can, our millage is always been renewed at 4 years. And so if you
I
look
see where it's
around
going.
at millages for police, fire and ambulance, they almost never get turned down. The
almost.
public
Yeah,
is
there's
very
the big word.
supportive
Almost.
of emergency services.
Sure.
So, we had a 5-year contract with them starting in 2015, November 2nd of 2015. So, and our millage, we approved an ambulance millage in, I believe it was November of 14. I know it was 14. That was for 4 years. So 14, 15, 16, 17. But we signed a contract with them that started November 2nd of 2015 for 5 years. So there is,
Precedent.
it's just like the fire special assessment district. We have to vote on that every year.
Understand.
Okay, that funds fire. So it's not required that your millage match up exactly with the length of a proposed contract. If you don't have so this contract starts, you said 23, would take us to 28. So if the millage isn't renewed in 26, then you would be, talking to MMR that we can't fund your services.
And
You know,
MMR is saying.
And then we would have no ambulance. See, we would have no
Well, I
ambulance.
understand the
because it's not just
consequences.
MMR.
I'm
We
just
would
saying
have
this-
no, if the taxpayers don't want to fund ambulance.
They don't
we
have
won't
to
have
either.
ambulance.
And they don't
So-
have to.
so We're stuck with a contract that potentially has liabilities that we owe MMR for 3 more years, whether we use their services or not.
Well,
Cause you're rolling
well,
a year.
and the thing you have to remember about a 5-year contract is that you lock in the price. So,
Yeah,
that was
there's your
very
other.
beneficial to us in the first 5 years to lock in that price. It locks in that budget for, that 5-year period. It's not going to go up. And so, you know what I'm saying?
I
So,
totally agree.
so
Corporate-
otherwise it could go up, as it is now, it's going up. We signed a 2-year contract.
Oh, it's
So
going up.
it's, you know, it's.
I understand the
it's not a huge
benefits.
amount.
I'm just saying in governmental land, how can you make that commitment
When you
on
don't have
behalf
the
of
funds.
citizens when you don't have the certainty that those funds will be there?
Well-
Entering, I agree with you. I agree
Yeah.
that there's the propensity of it failing is unlikely, but there is a
Right.
chance because it still has to vote. I mean, you still have to take it to.
Well, what's your solution?
I don't think that we can take a contract past the existing term. If our existing one ends at the end of 2025, then I think we should be looking at
Then how long should the contract be done?
2 years, because that's the commitment of the funding that we have.
Well, no. You levy it in 25. And that is the levy that you have that money until,
Till 29, if it's. if it's-
no.
No,
You have
25.
that money, you're levying it in 25. You're collecting it through March of 26.
Mhm.
Okay, so you pay the ambulance, you should have enough money to pay the ambulance through the May of 26. So you would have the service through December of 26.
If the funding's there through December 26th, then you've answered the question.
With the current levy that we have,
Correct.
yes.
So
it-
this
it-
is a December 1st, 2023, then in essence, we should be discussing a December 1st, 2026, a 3-year renewal, not a 5.
I have no problem with a 5-year renewal.
The
But
problem
it's
is,
important.
well,
And
okay,
it's also up to Acme Township too.
Sure.
okay, this is where it's gonna get yucky. I get the 5-year renewal where she's going, and I get your part too. But at the end of the day, we need to be having this discussion as a team with Acme. Because whatever we do affects them and whatever they do affects us. So we need to be on the same team right then and there, because we're sharing a bus that saves people's lives. So at the end of the day, do you have a special meeting with Acme and have a discussion if you're gonna change the 5-year contract you've already set a precedence in signing? Or are you gonna just go to a 3-year contract without even telling them that that's what you're gonna do? I can't do that. Because we're discussing and changing something that another team, we don't know. What did Acme say? Did Acme say we're going with 5 years? We don't know. So I can't vote on this till I know what Acme.
Well, they just got it too.
Yeah,
So,
So
I mean, everybody just got
I-
this
I
document, so no one's
completely
really
get
had
it.
time
I
to
completely
discuss
get it,
anything yet.
but we don't know what they're saying down the road and they don't know what we're saying. So
I get it.
how does someone
Yeah,
that,
we just got
if we both have to make a life-saving decision, I think we're gonna have to have a discussion with Acme. And
and
maybe,
we did the last time.
right,
Yeah,
Yeah,
we did.
we did.
so I'm just,
So this was I asked this to be added so you could get a look. I could get an idea if you still want to do the special meeting. I say we set something up with Acme, that's good. I do have some concerns right off the top. I know in conversation with Supervisor White of Acme Township, the termination window is moved up to, I believe, 120 days or
I saw
thereabouts.
that.
So I kind of concur with that. Don, your concern about funding is a valid point, but I believe under section 10 terms, subparagraph B, 2, excuse me. By this agreement can be terminated before the expiration of the term by any party with or without cause upon 60 days prior notice. I think that's gonna change to 120. Written
And-
notice to either party.
What was 120 before it was 120? The
60.
termination.
It was 60.
Okay, so now they've upped it to 120. And this is always been, the other one has always been 60, correct?
No, the other one I believe is actually 180. I believe our previous, our current contract, I believe is 180.
Why such a drastic change from 180 to 60 days?
Well, from recollection, we weren't sure how this agreement with MMR would work out, especially being combined. And we wanted 6 months to say, okay, we need to find another ambulance service.
It's not gonna,
And I'm not opposed to 120 days. I think that, whether it's 120 or 180, I don't think it's gonna make a bit of difference.
Okay.
You said section 10, B, 2?
Yep.
Looking at section 10, which is X,
I'm sorry, section 20, XX.
okay.
Now, where I have some significant concerns is how we are gonna get charged for a replacement ambulance.
That was my next question.
That is definitely not in the existing agreement.
Okay, but do you remember when we were talking about the ambulance? And I think we brought that up in early times. Because remember how they said you actually, how we said we own our ambulance, but then he said, well, you really don't, because we could put any ambulance we want there. Remember when he said that?
Okay.
So that's when I started thinking today was, okay, well, has anybody started to depreciate this ambulance already? Or,
The ambulance is leased to MMR. It's still owned by the township. It's leased. Their lease agreement isn't in here, but it's currently leased to MMR.
well, that's an expense. Don't you think we should see that paperwork too when we discuss it? But okay,
Again, I think it's very early. And they gave us this because we know it's coming. Oh, it is in here.
Yeah. I was
Yeah,
gonna say, it's in
exhibit A,
there.
the lease agreement is in here. Yeah, okay.
It's a
yeah, the
complete
lease,
document.
okay, yeah, get it. I think those are things that'll be answered through discussions and negotiations and with Acme Township and MMR should be at that meeting too.
Actually, the exhibit B is blank.
I just saw that.
I was trying to find what page.
Oh, the other release, A is the,
What you trying to find?
land,
Where
Building
did
lease.
they, say we're gonna buy a new ambulance?
Page 3. Section 6 subsidy.
Oh, yeah, the highlighted one.
Mm-hmm,
Mhm.
stuck right out there. Oh,
Yeah.
new ambulance and a new fire truck. Awesome.
So, lots of concerns here. Who owns it, right? And, so Don, your scenario, what happens if we don't fill the 5-year commitment? Now, all of a sudden, we've paid 50% of an ambulance that we can't use.
Or let alone don't even own anymore.
Yeah.
well, that ambulance is a 2010, so.
Yeah, I can see where it's coming to the end of its useful life. And-
Didn't you say that's 15 years or something like that? Or- I thought
And
you
I-
said at one time, you
Yeah.
can't sell it as an ambulance after 15 years or something.
Seems to me like that.
It's like
was the
15
number.
or 18 and then it,
I mean, you can still use it. Look at Frederick Township. They run some pretty old boats up and down this highway out here. I see them. So, they're definitely older than ours. They don't have the real old one anymore that I've seen, that was really old. But, you can use it past the 15 years. You just can't sell it as an ambulance, I believe is how it goes.
Mhm.
plus a lot of your equipment. is-
There is, they can be re-chassied too. They do that. So,
At any rate, we're gonna have to likely figure out. What I read in this is that, MMR won't be using our ambulance too many more times.
Yeah.
We signed this agreement and, I would expect that they're gonna replace that. ambulance.
Yeah, and if that's their intent, then why not just be upfront about it and let's have the discussion centered around that.
Agreed, yeah.
You know, why sign
I
this
think that's
agreement?
what this document is prompting is discussion.
Sure. I think it's going to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has succeeded.
As it
And
should.
then the other thing we should look at is, this current assessment, proposed assessment is $340,000. We don't generate that from our
How much did you say was 3 what?
340 is the number I think I got.
It's on like exhibit C.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly how much it is. I know this year there's no rollbacks. But, and we are actually building, a balance in the ambulance fund.
There's nothing in the ambulance replacement fund, correct? That's all zeros, right?
Right. Because once we went to a lease situation, we didn't need to.
Appreciate.
And not having any indication that this would be a possibility going forward. There's been no buildup in there.
Well, we just took the money out of it and I believe it went into the ambulance fund.
Sure.
I don't remember how that worked exactly now, but, the
Got it.
board agreed we didn't need to keep putting money into that fund.
So the next step on this would be to send the motion and schedule a joint meeting with Acme.
Or not
That's a question.
vote on table it. I would, okay. I wouldn't vote against it. I'd table it and have the meeting because then you're telling them your hand already.
I was looking for,
And they might get pretty offended at the table.
the, budget announcement that we used for this budget we're in, what our anticipated, revenues would generate. for-
And,
It's on the front page of the homepage of the township website, the adopted budget.
Yeah,
it's in the 321's meeting packet.
yep. I was
It's in the
just,
minutes. I think it's in the minutes. the same thing.
Well, and I will just point out to you that what's in the meeting packet. Remember, we never have the final taxable value
Right.
as the time of the meeting packet. So for general fund, fire fund and ambulance fund, the property tax number always gets revised. So the true number that we are projecting is in the adopted budget document, which you all have and is also on the homepage of the township website.
Ron, to your question, the minutes of 321 approved on 411 show estimated revenues of 383, 600, 315, 050. But as Cheryl pointed out, that wasn't the final calculation.
I
because
think it went slightly over 400, but I'd have to.
Yeah.
look.
That sounds familiar.
Sounds pretty close.
So there'll be enough money as
Yep.
we have it to.
More than enough.
To fund this. So what's the next step, board? You want me to try and arrange a meeting with Acme Township?
Do we have?
I think we need to have a meeting with Acme Township and MMR so everybody can get their questions answered.
Yeah, and when you're in dual. I'm just making, I agree. I mean, from the sake of efficiency, that's good, but from the sake of. From negotiations and leverage, you seem, if you're in bed with a partner, that you probably ought to be talking directly with them to figure out. Where your tolerances are, how willing, because you hate to be sitting in that meeting and you're trying to get MMR to move on a point and Acme and Whitewater Township haven't even agreed what range you're in. I
And
think that's just a bad negotiation practice.
there's that standpoint, but there's also questions have been raised that can only be answered by MMR. So I don't want to waste a bunch of time sitting in a meeting with Acme Township, and they probably don't either with us. Where we're going, well, what's the answer to that question? Well, if MMR was here, they'd be able to tell us,
How'd you do it last time? Did you do it?
MMR was here.
Yeah, so you
Good joint,
did an Acme MMR.
but
I wasn't there, so somebody's gonna have to tell me whether that worked or not. I just have an opinion.
I mean, it's all gotta come out on the table. It's all the board members voting.
well, then do you tell everybody that's coming to the table for that meeting, come prepared and send out a good agenda beforehand? So that we only have to have one meeting, not 10?
So to address Don's point, for example, on the purchase of the ambulance. I think Don's point was, we ought to get with Acme Township and see where they're at with this. Is that a thing
If that's,
for you guys?
that's a new section, I would highly recommend it.
Yep, I see, and.
Well, and I'd like to know from MMR, do they have an ambulance that we can lease? Because they buy ambulances. So, we may not have to buy an ambulance. I don't know.
See,
Why
if
would we have to buy an ambulance?
you wouldn't have to
Keep
buy it,
saying,
I thought you were suggesting that we would
no,
be
we,
co-owners of an ambulance with, I haven't read this yet, I haven't had time. So, but, and I mentioned that earlier, but, so I'm just saying,
That agreement says we will
says we will what?
purchase a new ambulance.
Okay. Well. I guess I'm still gonna ask MMR if they've got an ambulance we can lease, because to me, maybe that's an option and we don't know till we ask.
Okay,
I don't know,
I suspect they would have put lease in there.
maybe.
so we're going from leasing to buying, but basically, okay.
No, don't go down that rabbit
I won't,
hole.
I won't.
I mean, that's,
I won't.
all right, joint meeting, you want MMR there or not?
Yes.
I don't.
Oh, you
I
don't,
believe they need to be there to answer questions.
if they're not there, you're gonna have another meeting.
And I don't think that, I don't know how Acme Township feels about this, but to me, it's a, it's a fact-finding meeting, and then we vote later because some amendments might be made. So I don't know that we're going to be approving an ambulance. Maybe it will happen, but
I would try and explain your point further down, but I think it would be just wasted time. So, I like the idea of strategic and,
I mean, we gotta start somewhere. I don't know if they need to be in the room right away, but okay.
I also understand that we need to get some questions answered.
To the,
so you're gonna set up a joint meeting between Whitewater
No,
Township and
that
Acme?
has not been,
that hasn't been decided yet, Cheryl.
that is exactly what we're deciding, Cheryl.
Okay.
You and Heidi appear to want to have everybody present, and I kind of think like Don that we should have a strategy session first, just to find out where our business partner is at.
And probably should make sure that
But
we
then
all
part
know
of me
where that's
says,
at.
we don't have any other option.
That's true.
That's where I'm going unless, we're gonna make our own ambulance somehow.
So, at this point, why even vote on it? Because we don't have a choice. We really don't. If we decide not to accept some provision
Weird
of this
thing.
agreement,
You're buying an ambulance.
I mean, if that's the light, then it's the MMR. Meeting there is to get as deep a dive as you can to understand consequences and what if situations. Because if that's the best you're gonna do, because to your point, if there are the options, yeah, I mean. you're
We
in the
don't
desert
really
with
have
without
any.
Water, you don't have a choice.
And we're kind of stuck with our eggs in this basket, aren't we?
Okay, that's a,
No, the other option is you don't have an ambulance service.
so,
no, there's other options, Cheryl,
Well, that's one of them.
and there's good options.
Maybe we need to explore those options.
I can reluctantly agree to the meeting with MMR.
Well, sure, you can have the fire department be first responders and wait for an ambulance to come from Traverse City.
Oh, there's other options too, Cheryl.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, you said
Expand.
we didn't have options. Now you're saying
Not
we
with
do.
this contract.
Not
with
with
this
what they're
contract.
giving us on the table.
And so if the board wishes, I can go out and probably get a bid from somebody else.
2 years
Board.
ago, we didn't have any bids from anybody else.
Board like to do that?
I'd like to meet with Acme first to see what their heads at.
2 years ago, we couldn't get any other bids. I doubt that's changed.
So between Acme and Whitewater, they're $600,000. Real close, just shy of it. Plus they're billing all 500 riders, $1,800 a piece or more.
At 50% reimbursement or less.
So the meeting shall include MMR or not? I guess at this point, I'm gonna go with MMR can be there.
I reluctantly agreed as well.
So what looks good for the board? We've got some time, that's nice. Want me to just get an idea from Acme Township, what their schedule might be? And
Then go from there. Yeah, that
propose
sounds like. a
several
good idea.
dates.
Because
I hear you, I hate to get lulled into that false trap again, that we have lots of time, because that kind of seems to go.
Evaporate.
It seems to be
It
fleeting. I would rather get a meeting set up before the end of August to get the first one
Okay.
out of the way.
And they're probably gonna want a night meeting, just FYI. But okay. Don't they meet at night?
They came here for a day meeting previously.
Oh, we went there.
Well, we had a meeting here too.
We had one here and you had one there. The one there was more casual. The one here was everybody.
The one there was with East Bay Township. The one that I went to down there was East Bay, Beth Grund was there.
So we want
That
it
was-
before the end of the month of August.
I would prefer that.
Any dates on your calendars that are not open?
25th of August. I'm pretty wide open from the 16th on.
I'm not, I have a PC meeting on the 16th.
I'm not available the whole week of the 21st.
Try to get something the 29th or 30th,
I got nothing that whole week.
29th or 30th work for you, Cheryl?
The 29th doesn't, neither does the 30th. I'm gonna be out of town for some election education.
So Monday or Thursday.
The week of the 14th doesn't work with anybody?
The 14th doesn't work for me, and I have prac meeting on the 15th, but the rest of the week works.
And I have a PC on the Wednesday.
And I have a clerk's meeting at 10 on the 17th that I will be attending.
It looks like the day on the 15th and 16th will be open.
Maybe we should ask
Evening
them
of the
if they
17th,
want an
you said
evening or,
between-
Evening of the 17th, I can.
It looks like day 15, day 16, evening 17.
Hmm,
Doesn't work
That
for you,
might be
Heidi?
kind of quick for Acme, I don't know.
yeah, that's,
Sure.
17th don't work for me.
Not at all.
Possibly not. It all depends what happens in here. I have something that's gonna happen like in the next 4 days,
So-
so I can't.
If, I don't anticipate this to be a really long meeting. I could open up something. Let's
The
see.
only day I can't do that week is the 21st. It's Monday.
22nd, 23rd, or 24th, how does that?
Yep,
look?
that works. 24th in the morning.
Those are wide open for me.
And I don't have to be present.
It worked out well last time too.
I got you covered.
I think we need to talk to them though and see what's working for them.
So day of 16th, 17th, anytime 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. Good?
I'm good.
Good.
What else we need? Back to the agenda packet. Tabled items, none, board comments and discussion,
I'm just looking for an update on the launch of the township's YouTube channel.
my knowledge, it's up.
Where's the link? On the website, because I've looked for it. It's not on
Oh.
there.
I don't know. I can call Jen. Probably bad practice to pay for stuff before we get it. Next board.
Well, I think
meeting's
his
September
work was
12th.
done, so he,
September 12th?
Yeah.
Is that
billed
right?
us.
No, that's what I'm showing.
So moving to public comment, Zoom. If anybody would like to make a public comment, please use the raise your hand function. Hello, Carl. Hello, Carl. All right, maybe we'll move to someone else. I see no other.
Hear me now?
There you are.
Somebody's in.
Sorry, I couldn't find the button. I listened with interest to the comments on enforcing the what you call it, But the what do you call it, the various laws or ordinances. And I thought everybody had good comments, concerns, very good. But I look back based on some of my experiences, why on earth aren't we talking to some of the other townships in the area that have had these problems and instituted various policies to deal with them? That would be my only comment, is to use the experience of the other townships to deal with it. It may be helpful, it may not, but at least we would know what good things could happen. Yeah, what worked and what didn't work. That's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, Denise. Hello, Denise.
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. While you were discussing whether to have a meeting with Acme Township or not, I called them and I didn't get the name of the person I spoke with, but they are going to have it on their agenda for the September meeting and for the public meeting. So you can, they did something in August, they, like you, and then they're bringing it to the public meeting in their September meeting. So maybe you can work with before that or after, I don't know, but it's your decision. It's just something that probably should have been checked before you started your discussion. And I agree with Carl, if he's talking about short-term rentals, it's not really it's a new way of saying from the old days boarding houses where people rented rooms out by the month or long-term or whatever. And there probably, needs to be some sort of regulation, I think, about just permitting. And with permitting, you can have inspections to make sure that the house has like fire extinguishers and no unsafe issue, unsafe building for the people that are staying there. And also, if the state adopts the measure, we already have some type of regulation in place that for permitting, and we can just be ready. But that's entirely up to the township board, of course. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone here in Township Hall wishing to make a public comment?
Connie Highmore. The deputy clerk, board members, Mr. Pop, Mr. Glenn, and Ms. Valmuth, and the residents. A very uncomfortable situation occurred today during the board meeting. I simply asked the deputy clerk for a copy of the ZBA packet that was on the table in town hall so I could leave the meeting. Clerk Goss's erratic behavior made me feel unsafe as she stopped the board meeting when coming back to the copy room and demanding that her deputy clerk cease making the copy. Erratic behavior definition is behavior that is unpredictable or may be considered irregular or illogical for the situation, or not keeping with the standards of behavior for a given set of circumstances. After making clear what she was angry about, Clerk Goss continued to demand that Therese stop and that she advanced into my personal space several times. She rudely explained that Therese works for her. Does Therese need approval to help every person that comes into town hall? Other people entered town hall and they didn't get approached and negatively addressed by Clerk Goss. The bullying behavior of the clerk was out of line once again, and I want it addressed. I think the taxpayers pay the deputy clerk's check. I'm certain that it does not come out of Clerk Goss's personal bank account. How unprofessional and disrespectful to embarrass the deputy clerk and me, and to do so within earshot of the board and the residents sitting in town hall during a board meeting. I can understand Tim Aaron's resignation letter even more clearly after Clerk Goss's bullying behavior today. Furthermore, Clerk Goss explained that the ZBA packet is online, which is good to know. But on further examination, I see there are pages in the ZBA packet in town hall that are not online. Thank you, Deputy Clerk Treese, for helping me today. I hope the clerk does not further verbally attack you because you are kindly helping me.
Heidi Valmuth, private citizen. I still have some of those rights. Although maybe not to the public. Because someone gave me a piece of paper a couple weeks ago on my front porch. I thought I knew who it was, but when I called them, they didn't admit. So I have a handout for you. Successful meetings, roles and responsibilities. Yep, we all need help. We all make mistakes. But what's concerning is if you are going to discuss an employee or someone that's in the room that cannot defend themselves, you need to excuse yourself and do it in behind closed doors. There's a very fine line there, and you're crossing it, and it's making me very concerned. I now have a letter in my packet using the verbiage toxic. I now have a woman at the podium claiming unsafe. Wow. Sure, this isn't the end of it. Shame on you. Good, let her go.
Cheryl Goss, and I am the Whitewater Township Clerk, and I'm being paid today as the Whitewater Township Clerk. I'm not here as a private citizen. I apologize to my deputy Therese for trying to rescue her from an overly demanding citizen who wanted a copy of something right now, and it had to be done so she could leave the building when we could have made that copy at our convenience. And in fact, what we would have done is emailed her a copy from the township website. I'll be informing Bob Hall when he gets here on Thursday. When I got here yesterday morning, I put that packet out there on Thursday, and I also posted it to the township website on Thursday. And the file that Bob gave me. And then I noticed yesterday morning, Monday morning, that this document in here had been unstapled and restapled. So someone took that document apart, and I'd be verifying with Bob Hall on Thursday that this document right here is the exact document that he wanted put out here that represents the packet that goes to the ZBA on August 24th. No one needed to disassemble his document, and I'm sorry that my deputy felt pressured from Connie Highmore today to make a copy right now. It's not our policy to just jump and do something as soon as somebody stands at our door. We could have told her that she could come back in a couple days. I apologize to my deputy if it sounded like I was berating her. I was simply trying to get her attention to not have a discussion which was taking place in the meeting room here. And we don't like to have that. So I was trying to stop that. I should have walked over there instead. And then I don't know why Ms. Highmore felt she needed a copy right now. That's overly demanding. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
I have a comment.
Well, go ahead.
Um, So we kind of already moved through Zoom public comment board. What do you want to do?
There was a motion to adjourn.
We work for the people. That's a fine line. Your call, Bob.
No, I'm asking the board what you would like to do.
You're running the meeting. Do what you want to do.
I'll rescind my motion.
I rescind my second.
Vicky,
Thank you for taking my comment. Actually, I really appreciate it. I was sitting next to Connie during the meeting, as you know, and we were looking through the packet that was on the table. And actually, Cheryl, you are absolutely correct. The first thing that we noticed is that it had been unstapled already and stapled back in. So I would be curious to see who it was that went through that and did that. Actually, your deputy was doing some work for somebody that came in, and Connie just stood up and did it at the same time. She was not demanding. I don't know where you came off in saying that. I was really quite taken back at how you reprimanded Therese. She was simply helping out a taxpayer. I don't think that it had to have been done right then. She happened to be back there and was just trying to do it while Therese was already there. Going through that packet, there is a lot of incorrect information. And the biggest thing that I want to bring up is that the Highmores had submitted a FOIA, and there are a lot of documents that are now in that packet from your zoning administrator that have mysteriously appeared. Highmores asked on several occasions, as did I, if we had all of the documents that pertained to that division during the FOIA last year, and we were assured on many occasions that that was the case. And now all of a sudden, there are additional pieces being put into this packet from the zoning administrator. I call foul. Thank you for your time.
I see no other hands up. And so I will once again make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion. Roll call when ready.
Baumeth,
Yes.
Bennett is absent. Pop,
Yes,
Glenn,
Yes.
Goss, yes.
2:10 PM.